Hokage Starting from the Instant Full Level, Chapter 181-200. Chapter 181, I Can't Die. A dull thunderous crash sounded suddenly. By the entanglement of the water instantly cut through Long Yu's cloak and landed on the blood-like Susanoo's coat. The seemingly fierce water jet shattered in an instant, scattered in the void, and disappeared as a mist of water. Looking at the surface of Long Yu's body, the huge Susanoo formed by squirming fast. When the scarlet eyes were locked on the hookah, there was a grunt and the feeling of swallowing saliva. At this moment, they finally understood why Konoha betrayed forbearance and Uchiha Longyu. Why were they called Scarlet Ashura? In front of him alone is enough to explain all this. Okay, I've given you a chance to perform. You should be able to tell me why you called me just now. Longyu said with a warm smile. Like a boy next door, fell into the eyes of the hookah, and it was like a feeling of death. Looking at Susanoo, who was more than 10 meters tall and shrouded in front of Longyu's body, his face became anxious, and he took out the gourd containing the hero's water with his left hand, and quickly poured it into his mouth in front of everyone's eyes. Stop him. The more you take this heroic water, the stronger the power you can increase. Shiyu reminded in a hurry. However, in the face of all this, Longyu still did not act at all, just watched this scene with great interest. Along with the water in the gourd, more than half of it disappeared. Shisha's eyes were round at first, and then the blue veins on his face became prominent at the next moment. The violent chakra exploded instantly like a frenzy. The chakra coat that was originally light blue turned into a dark blue in an instant. The chakra that couldn't be contained in the body even came out through the body and rose straight into the sky. Power, this is power, have you seen it? This is the strongest power in the ninja world. I am the strongest in Taki Ninja Village, and the strongest existence in the ninja world. Shisha felt the huge power in his body, and laughed like crazy. Under the expansion of confidence, his eyes suddenly turned and fell on Longyu, saying, "You can't be afraid. Why don't you make a move?" Scared. Longyu smiled and shook his head. In my knowledge, the strongest in Taki Ninja Village is my subordinate, Do. As for why you don't do it, that's because to make a person despair, you must first make him crazy. Speaking of which, the corners hidden in the darkness all walked out slowly and said, "Boss, is he crazy?" The sudden appearance tightened everyone's nerves, especially the ninjas of Taki Ninja Village. Even more clearly, what the person in front of him means. To be able to make the ground resent Yujao. Do, to be called the boss, the amount of information contained in it is too large. It can be said that if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would want to believe that the grievances that made their Taki Nin village almost wipe out the village, all. It will be easily tamed and become someone else's subordinate. A little bit more. Longyu looked at it thoughtfully, and said with a light smile. Taki couldn't help but be stunned by Shiyu and the others, and even Xingying Kai-shing, the representative of Xingnin in the distance, was stunned for a moment. For the tyrannical chakra that comes out of the hookah, it is definitely 40 or 50 times stronger than when he is normal. In the face of such a hookah, even Kai-shing has no confidence in his heart. However, now Uchiha Ryu even told him that it was a little bit worse. Red Star, come and help me. The hookah roared. Oh, are you still coming? And looked towards Chixingdao. Don't waste your time, let's go together. Kaizing's expression froze. If just a moment ago, he didn't know who Uchiha Ryu was. Now, after seeing his terrifying strength with his own eyes, there is no doubt that he has no confidence in his heart. Seeing this scene, the hookah, who had just been able to escape from the predicament, changed his face and shouted anxiously, "Kai-shing, we are sitting on the same boat now. Don't forget that you are the agent Xingying, and you are the strongest in Xingnan village, and your strength is sufficient. Comparing with the 5 shadows, if we join forces with the heroic water, it will not be a problem to defeat him." Kai-shing was startled. The hookah's words were not unreasonable. What's more, he also wanted to see how powerful the peacock's magic would be with the hero's water. Okay, I'm going to use your Konoha to rebel against forbearance, with blood as a stepping stone, on the road to the strongest in the ninja world. Kai Xing shouted sharply. Xingying will win, Lord Chixing is invincible. Master Chixing, who is the peacock to compete with? Xing Ren, who was present, was the first to lose his temper. Regardless of how strong is Uchiha Ryu, they are now grasshoppers on the same hemp rope. Pull one and move the whole body. The only thing that can be done right now is to kill Uchiha Longyu, so that there is a chance of survival. Okay, Kai Xing, you will understand that this choice is the most important step for us to dominate the ninja world. Shisha's face was happy. He raised his head and filled half of the hero's water again, and threw it to Chixing. Kai Xing raised his head and drank. The two looked at each other and let out an awe-inspiring long whistle. Roar! The hookah and the red star roared in the sky. The chakra dormant in the body exploded like a frenzy and flew straight into the sky. The violent gesture formed a series of air ripples that stirred open, and even the lake surface was set off by large waves. Shiyu and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. Even Kakashi and others are no exception. Facing the hookah and the red star just a moment ago, they may still have the strength to fight. However, the chakra fluctuations that are now exuding have skyrocketed at least 50 or 60, 506,506 times. This kind of increased strength, looking at the entire ninja world, is not just one person who can fight against it. Haha, Uchiha Longyu, have you seen this? This is our strength to dominate the ninja world. Next, you will tremble under absolute strength. Shisha laughed recklessly. The moment the corner of the eye and Kai Xing looked at each other, they shouted angrily. Go! The roar fell, Kai Xing's hands suddenly flew up, and a series of spells fell. With the help of the water of heroes, the star chakra in the body swelled dozens of times in an instant. Under the transmission of this huge combat power, the peacock magic technique that erupted has achieved a qualitative change in seconds. The roar of the peacock magical dragon. When the last magic seal fell, his hands suddenly clasped together. The star chakra that came out through the body, when it went straight to the sky, shook his body and turned into a 100-meter-long glowing dragon. Accompanied by a deafening roar, he shook his head and swept his tail towards Uchiha Longyu. Hookah, I suppressed him. You cast the most powerful ninjutsu to suppress him. Made a move, Kai Xing was the first to lose his breath and roared in a hurry. In this situation, the only thing that can be done to win completely is to work hard and then decline. Therefore, this move must be decisive for the victory. However, when the voice fell, the audience was stunned, and the words that fell into his ears shook his nerves even more. That, you seem to have been sold, and you are still helping him count the money. Longyu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said with a smile, however, this attack is indeed worth my reluctance to shoot. The playful words fell, and Kai Xing hurriedly looked behind him. The target was the hookah, who turned around and ran away frantically. It can be said that in the short fight just now, the strength of the heroic water has been soared by dozens of times, but even Susanoo, who is protecting the body of Uchiha Longyu, has no way to break it. Therefore, at this moment, Shisha had a plan in his heart to drag Chixing into the water and buy enough time for himself to escape. As an ally, Shisha clearly knew the power of Peacock's magic, and felt the breath that burst out just now. He firmly believed that Kai Xing could buy him enough time. Thinking of this, Shisha was the first to lose his breath and hurriedly took a look behind him. However, this glance made his pupils shrink suddenly, and when he saw Susanoo, who was instantly transformed into a hill, hundreds of meters high, his heart was suddenly tightened by an invisible big hand. The next moment, a huge hand like a mountain suddenly grabbed it in the void, and the 8-foot Changu jade fell into his hand. Looking at the incoming glowing dragon, Susanoo didn't have any fancy, and the 8-foot Changu jade in his hand suddenly threw out. PFF'd. The low sound of air tearing suddenly came out, and at the moment when the air ripples turbulently, the Xiaoguang giant dragon who was the first to touch it was torn apart like paper. As the caster, Kai Shingsho suffered the brunt of the backlash, and before he had time to think about it, he suddenly clasped his hands together and roared again. Peacock's magical bulwark. The endless star chakra is extracted from the red star. In the blink of an eye, in front of the red star, an indestructible wall was formed. However, before there was a hint of joy on Kai Xing's face, the next moment the Xiaoguang walls were like paper paste, and there was another pop. Kai Xing reacted. The huge 8-foot Changgu jade, like a grinding disc, had been infinitely enlarged in his pupils. Bang! The entire body, under Bachi Changgu's attack, was instantly crushed into flesh. What acting as a star forbearance, what chakra that has exploded dozens of times. This so-called title, under absolute strength, everything seems pale and powerless. A time. The huge venue fell into an inexplicable silence. Originally, those Xing ninjas who were still helping Kai Xing waving the flag and shouting were almost scared to death. The huge 8-foot Changgu jade still remained in its prestige, directly piercing through the void, and swept away violently towards the hookah. The violent scene made the hookah almost split his eyes. Who was taking the hero's water, could give him a little time to delay. But everything seemed pale. No, I can't die. Shisha panicked, feeling the violent chakra obtained in the body with the help of the heroic water. It was originally intended to be a trump card, but unfortunately it has no confidence at all right now. Of hookah is to escape. Hookah adults. Dongxing's voice suddenly sounded. Seeing Uchiha Itachi being escorted over, Shisha immediately. His face brightened. He clearly knew. The cause of all this is all because of greed, catching Uchiha Itachi. Chapter 182, Capture. To be rescued now is to take this little brat as a hostage. Thinking of this, the hookah was the first to lose his breath, and the instant body technique was performed to the extreme, and quickly swept towards Uchiha Itachi. The violent scene made Nohara Rin's complexion change drastically, and it was too late to start shouting in a hurry. Brother Feather. Don't worry, Itachi is not. A simple thing. If he wasn't caught intentionally, I'm afraid that 2 more hookahs won't catch him. Long Yu gave a dry laugh, looked at Uchiha Itachi, who had a look of joy on his face, and said, "It's better to be young, it's easy to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger." The inexplicable words made the people in the field startled at first. Even the hookah that just got close to Uchiha Itachi is no exception. However, before they could react, Itachi had already started drinking violently. If you don't do it now, when will you wait? As a confidant of hookah, Dongxing III was startled at first. However, he quickly reacted, and under the flipping of his hands, a series of spell marks were formed. Water escape water whip bound. The water whip was condensed in the hands of the 3 people in an instant, and the next moment, like a poisonous snake, it quickly wrapped around the attacking hookah. The violent scene was completely beyond the hookah's expectations, but in this close proximity, everything seemed pale and powerless, and was instantly tied into a zongzi. What are you doing? Shisha reacted suddenly, roaring and struggling. He never thought that at this juncture, his subordinates would betray him. Lord Shisha, you taught me to choose wood for good birds. Now the overall situation has been decided, but I can't blame us for not persuading you that day. Dongxing looked as usual, without the slightest guilt. You, Shisha gasped all of a sudden. However, a ghostly figure appeared in front of him in an instant. Figure is very thin, but the scarlet eyes like ink, and the short chakra knife that glows with cold light, cut directly at the throat of the hookah at a tricky angle. PFF'd, scarlet blood splashed out, and the hookah's eyes were full of disbelief. Uchiha Itachi turned around and kicked the sky, and the hookah shot into the sky like a cannonball. When the vitality was dissipated, the huge shuriken that came into view occupied the memory picture of Shisha dying. Poof! A tyrannical power, with a rolling posture. That shot up into the sky was instantly crushed into blood foam and scattered between the sky and the earth. Looking at the 8-foot Changgu Yu shuriken, which was still unabated, it quickly passed over the huge waterfall and mountain on which Taki Ninja Village was relying. It was followed by a deafening explosion. The kilometer-long mountain peak was directly cut off by the waste, accompanied by a deafening roar. 8-foot Chongguyu instantly collided with the barren mountains in the distance. If the nine heavens divine thunder had fallen, shattering a large area of the mountain, and the sand and dust billowed into the sky. Originally, Taki Ninja Village was able to close the country, but it was entirely because of the existence of this natural danger that it was isolated from all contact with the outside world. Pity that the mountain peak has been cut down, and the earth in the distance has been penetrated by a big hole. This violent scene just stirred everyone's nerves, and while the field fell into a dead silence, there was only a grunt-like sound of swallowing saliva. That looked at Long Yu at the same time were filled with a hint of panic. The power of a single blow is so terrifying. Who can resist a few tricks in a real fight? When I thought of the hookah and the red star, the inexplicable confidence just now was simply disgusting that the grass on my grave was too long. Village Sheu, what are we going to do? Dongxing couldn't help but move his footsteps, which meant that he was obviously choosing a camp. What else can I do? Of course, I kneel down and surrender. Has the village of Motaki Ninja been bloodbathed once? Shiyu couldn't care about the feeling of weakness in his body, and said with an exasperated stare. Voice fell, Shiyu took the lead with a thud to the ground. Dongxing, who was standing beside him, and all the ninjas from Taki Ninja Village followed him and knelt down. Who had just recovered from the shock were no exception. My lord, we, Taki Ninja Village, are willing to surrender and beg for the grace of not killing. Kneeling and begging for the grace of not killing. Soon as it came out, hundreds of thousands of people shouted in unison, and finally the sound rolled and dispersed. At this moment, the short 666 words rolled like a magic sound and couldn't disperse. Moreover, people from all over the world came to join the ranks. Although many people do not know why, but in the face of the huge mountain that was cut off without warning, and the blood-colored Susano like a god, the psychology of conforming to the crowd was obviously aroused. Even their own village chiefs are worshipping, not to mention, they are ordinary people. For a time, this scene of thousands of people worshipping together made Kakashi and others stunned, eyes. Do, who was originally indifferent and who had slaughtered and bloodshed Taki Ninja Village in the past, also said coldly, Boss, now I see that you are more like an evil god than the guy in the takeoff section. If that guy is there, I'm afraid I'll be very envious. You have so many people bowing down. Zhao, I didn't expect that you would make a joke too, but it's not funny at all. Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly. He is not the virgin, but he does not like to kill innocent people. Although, for Nanao, sooner or later he will come to Taki Ninja Village. To Itachi Uchiha made him come back early. However, beheading Shisha and Chixing also acted as a shock, and now it may be possible to take Nanao over without any effort. Okay, get up. Long Yu retracted his wandering thoughts, looked at Shiyu and said, this time, the rebellion of Shisha and Kai Shing was considered a mistake by me, and I solved it for you, Taki Ninja Village. However, Village Chief Sheu, you should also see the red auspicious cloud cloak on my body. We know how to organize things, but we will charge a fee. Having said that, Long Yu looked at Shiyu. In Yunrin Village, Long Yu had already poured a wave of dirty water on Xiao organization. Now, but also don't mind, pour it again. Handling fee. First, but his face quickly became a little anxious, and said, Uchiha Ryayu, our Taki Ninja Village is also a small country and a small village. I'm afraid we can't pay the fee you said. HMPH, if you can't afford it, then pay it back with the head on your neck. As the village head of Taki Ninja Village, you are still worth 30 million taels. Zhao, they were the first to speak out unexpectedly. In addition to being unsmiling, for Zhao, the most sensitive thing is that I have done things and you have no money. This is more painful than death. No, my lord, you can say a number, and we will try to raise it. Shiyu couldn't help shivering. Compared with Uchiha Ryu, for their tacky ninja village, the corners are more fierce. After all, this is the master of Tacky Ninja Village who almost bloodshed himself. In case it goes berserk now, Tacky Ninja Village can't stand the second toss. Hehe, Village Chief Sheu, you are really serious. Since you have the heart, let's have a good deal. Long Yu laughed dryly. However, when everyone heard the 4 words of this happy transaction, the muscles in their cheeks twitched. This good man played the card too fast. Use his horns, all of them get off the horse, and then become a good man by himself. It's just one-handed shit, one-handed candy, stuffed so convincingly. Sir, please tell me. Sheu didn't dare to play any more careful thoughts now. After wiping the sweat from his forehead, he stood respectfully to the side, showing an attitude of listening intently. As for those tacky shinobi and the villagers who were kneeling on the ground begging for mercy, they didn't dare to take a breath. Just staring at Long Yu eagerly. Okay, don't be too nervous, I'm not a bad person. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the field, Long Yu reluctantly wiped the tip of his nose and said, this time, I came to Tacky Ninja Village, except to save people. Your Tacky Ninja Village is a small village and a small country, but there is one thing, very valuable. Take out the tailed beasts. It is good for your village to recuperate, but the uninterrupted tailed beast riots make you tired of suppressing, and the elite power in the village is constantly being consumed. Tailed beast, it's a good weapon if you use it well, but it's a sharp double-edged sword if you don't use it well. If you're a little careless, it might make your Tacky Ninja Village go backwards again. Give it to me, and you'll know clearly. It was the right choice. Tacky Shinobu, who handed over the tailed beast, changed his expression. Their Tacky Ninja Village, when it was in its prime, was only slightly inferior to the 5 great ninja villages. Of tailed beasts is enough to prove his strength and status in the ninja world. However, after the bloodbath of Kaku, too, the strength of Tacky Ninja Village has not been as good as before. That can really compete with the 5 major ninja villages is the Water of Heroes, and only the tailed beast weapon Renjuli is left. However, now that the water of the hero has been drank by the hookah and the red star, only the tailed beast is left, which can act as the human pillar force, as the last trump card of Tacky Ninja Village. I'd like to hand it over. Sheu suddenly spoke up. The words fell, immediately. Tacky Shinobu in the field caused a commotion. Village Shiba, the tailed beast is our last village foundation. If we hand it over, the strength of our Tacky Ninja Village will be greatly reduced. Village Sheu, please think twice, if it's just money, we can all get together. Scene suddenly changed. Gossip. In the face of the birth of no shadow-level existence, the cultivation of the tailed orc's pillar power has obviously become a shortcut on the road of chasing the strong. Okay. Yu raised his hand to stop, looked at Long Yu and said, Uchiha Long Yu, I want to confirm one thing. Although our Tacky Ninja Village is closed to the country, but it is rumored that you intend to collect the 9 big-tailed beasts, and you have also captured Yunnan Village, so I want to ask, if our Tacky Ninja Village surrenders Naneo, the other tailed beasts in the ninja village will it be collected by you as well? Faced with this question, Tacky Shinobu, who was unwilling to speak just now, changed his expression and shut up. They clearly knew that these words were what Sheu told them. Even Yunnan Village, which is known as the 5 largest ninja villages with the strongest military strength, was also captured by Uchiha Ryu. Chapter 183, Take Away the Tailed Beast. Not to mention, their Tacky Ninja Village. Hehe, it seems that the information from the village chief of Sheu is not. The hookah can be compared. Long Yu laughed dryly and said, however, what is my purpose? I don't even know myself. It may be random, or it may be destined, but when I am in the mood, I will collect the 9 big-tailed beasts. After all, I am too kind, but I can't stand their suffering. The people present were so kind that they couldn't help but look sideways. When they recalled the scene where Shisha and Kai Xing were killed just now, they still had lingering fears in their hearts. If killing people without blinking an eye is considered good, then there will be no evil people in this world. Woo. Shiyu took a deep breath, his eyes flickered, and he looked at Uchiha Itachi and said, I think, as the Lord said, you deliberately let the hookah be caught, and even Dongxing obeys your orders. I want to seal Nanao. The vessel should have fallen into your hands. When Dongxing 3 heard the words, a trace of embarrassment appeared on their faces. As Shiba said, after the hookah asked them to escort Uchiha Itachi away, they really couldn't stand the coercion and temptation. At the same time, after suffering in the hands of Uchiha Itachi personally, he finally chose to believe Uchiha Itachi's bewitching words. After hearing the sound of the explosion in the tree hole, I was even more convinced of all this. After hurriedly taking Uchiha Itachi to grab the vessel sealed by the Nanao, I came here, and I could see Kai-Shing being crushed. Hookah escape scene. Brother, I brought what you asked for. Rare smile appeared on Uchiha Itachi's face. Under the watchful eyes of the public, several ups and downs fell on Long Yu's side, and he took out an ancient gourd with his backhand. The shape of this gourd is simple, with dense mysterious patterns carved around it, which is somewhat similar to the gourd that holds the water of heroes. But more than that is fancy. The moment the gourd started, Long Yu frowned, and a low roar came out from it. Bang! The violent chakra exploded like a frenzy. The mysterious incantation seal on the surface of the gourd, at the moment when all kinds of rays of light bloom, under the eyes of the public, there is a crisp cracking sound. Cracks like cobwebs spread quickly on the surface of the gourd. The mysterious magic seal that was lit up quickly dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The violent scene shook Shiyu's nerves, and before he had time to think about it, he shouted in a hurry, Sir, this is the harbinger of Chongming breaking the seal. The power of this shock is stronger than before, you hurry up and hand it over. Give us, strengthen the seal again. HMPH, the melee in Taki Ninja Village, you still plan to seal me. The rolling sound waves came out from the gourd, with a roaring and harsh sound. Don't think, I was sealed in the gourd, I don't know that you just experienced a battle outside. I think you, Taki Ninja Village, even if you can suppress the rebellion successfully, you will still be severely damaged. I have rioted during this period of time, and everything is to wait for this opportunity. No one can stop me today. Boom! The dull collision sound suddenly came out from the gourd, and the sound was even louder than before. Most importantly, most of the mysterious spell seals that had been shattered in the first place were shattered again under this wave of shock. Cracks like cobwebs quickly spread over the entire surface of the gourd. Haha, you have no way to suppress me this time. It only takes a few minutes before I will be leveled, you Taki Ninja Village. Nanao Shigeki roared recklessly. However, just as the voice fell, and at the moment when he was about to strike again, the gourd stopper, which was the key to the seal, was directly ripped open with a pop. Okay, don't yell at me, what if I let you out? Nanao Shigame, who was in a daze inside the gourd. Then it immediately woke up. After losing the key to seal the bottle stopper, Shigeki Nanao was startled at first, and rushed out without thinking much. In its eyes, as a tailed beast, although it is not the strongest among the 9-tailed beasts. But for a debilitating being, that's just coming. However, when Shigeki Nanao jumped out of the gourd, he just recovered. In those huge compound eyes, the huge figure of Susanoo was reflected, but it made its pupils shrink suddenly. As 9 big-tailed beasts, one of them, only 2 people can play with them, in applause. Who would go into a daze when he touched his head with a wooden man's palm, and Chinsho Zujian. The second is the Uchiha legend, Uchiha Madara, who pretends to be cool and stares at the writing wheel. And when Uchiha Madara abused them that day, he obviously used a trick similar to the one in front of him. This gigantic Susanoo, despite its size, still overwhelmed it. And the 3-headed 6-armed posture is very similar to Uchiha Madara's that day. Thinking of this, Nanao Shigeki couldn't help but look at Long Yu and said anxiously, "Are you Madara Uchiha?" Madara Uchiha's small voice reverberated in this world. Many people will not be unfamiliar with the two legends of the ninja world, the God of Ninjas, and the legend of the Uchiha family. Now it has been mentioned again by Shigeki Nanao, and many. Everyone couldn't help but look at Uchiha Ryu one more time. After all, this is the legend of the Uchiha clan, and it is inevitable to tug at the heartstrings of the descendant of Uchiha Ryu. You mean Madara? I just beheaded him not long ago. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said, I don't look like that short-lived species. What? Nanao Shigeki's pupils shrank suddenly. No, it should be said that everyone in the field was stunned. The legend of the Uchiha clan is the benchmark of the ninja world, and it is the honor of the Uchiha clan. Falling into Long Yu's mouth, opening and closing the mouth is a slash, this gap is a bit too big. However, when you think about it, no matter. The truth of what Long Yu said, and the means displayed in front of him, and Uchiha Madara don't give in too much. Okay, what a sharp-eyed boy, I don't care if you have. Kill Uchiha Madara, today I will. Now that the seal is broken, you all have to die. Chongming roared, a piercing cry, pulsing away like a sound wave. The huge impact and the wave of air that were set off directly overturned Taki Shinobi, who was slightly inferior in strength when looking around. Is this the power of the tail beast? Kakashi looked up at the behemoth in front of him. If it wasn't for Susanoo, who was cast by Uchiha Ryu, he would have resisted most of his power. I am afraid that waiting for them is also a miserable end. Is this the power of the tail beast? Nohara Rin couldn't help but say. Her body, there is half the blood of the immortal human body, so she has a certain degree of resonance with the tailed beast. That's why he was targeted by Mist Ninja Village and easily sealed the three tails into his body. This kind of success rate can only be achieved by those who have the blood of the immortal human body. No, it's just its fur ability. The tailed beast can be used as an important weapon for a village. It's not that simple, but in this place, once a battle is launched, the village will probably be destroyed. Long Yu smiled playfully and looked at Shigeki Nanao. This time, the three-tailed beasts rarely said anything, and their intention was obviously to let Long Yu torture him first and then be a good guy. That among the 9 big-tailed beasts, Nantai Shigeme's relationship and communication were too bad, and he was pitted like this. However, compared to Nanao, who was kept in the dark, Shibuya, who was Taki Ninja Village, was all crying. Of the tailed beasts have been in the seal place of the Great Lake outside the village. This at least minimizes damage to the village. Now, because of Uchiha Itachi, Nanao Shigeki has appeared in the village. Once they fight, the aftermath of the battle alone may be able to destroy 1/10 of the village. There is still a great god Uchiha Ryu at the moment. A fight, this ninja village will probably be wiped off the map. Thinking of this, Shiyu reluctantly stopped his body, knelt on the ground with a thud, and said, Sir, aren't you going to take Nanao away? Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we beg you. My lord, I have old people and young people. I hope you can be careful. The scene suddenly returned to the situation where thousands of people worshipped together. If you let outsiders know, Taki Ninja Village, which is second only to the 5 great ninja villages, actually knelt down and let people take the tailed beast away. This will definitely shock a lot of people's jaws. Brother. Uchiha Itachi's face also turned slightly blue. As a virgin, he never thought that for one performance, it would bring such disaster to Taki Ninja Village. Facing Nanao, who was clearly planning to run wild, Uchiha Itachi knew that only Long Yu could do it when he looked around the audience. Haha, don't worry, eat people with short mouths and take people softly. Since these 7 tails are all my things, I won't let them be naughty. Long Yu smiled and patted Uchiha Itachi on the shoulder, looked at Obito who was still confused and said, Didn't you say that I gave you something just now? It's just a matter of getting some interest now. I just opened a plugin for you in advance, and seal the divine power and power of your kaleidoscope writing wheel in my kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope. Uchiha Obito was stunned at first, and quickly took off his forehead guard to act as a mirror. Obito, your eyes have changed, it's a star writing wheel eye. Nohara Rin couldn't help but said. Kakashi was also taken aback, and there was also a hint of envy on his face. Although Obito's eyes were different from Long Yu's, he knew very well what Long Yu meant by the so-called open hanging. If it is said that the Uchiha clan is the leader among the ninjas of the same level as long as the writing wheel is opened, then open the legendary kaleidoscope writing wheel, then life is like opening and hanging. Who is hailed as a genius by the outside world, does not have enough confidence to overwhelm Uchiha Obito. Do I have my own pupil technique too? Uchiha Obito couldn't help but touched his eyes and said anxiously, can I be as powerful as Big Brother Yu? Looking at Uchiha Obito, who was obviously overexcited, Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, okay, don't dawdle me, I will hypnotize you first and let you do as I instruct. Chapter 184, Tailed Beast Jade. It is a guess of Long Yu to seize the pupil ability of others. In the forbidden area of the Uchiha clan, he obtained Uchiha Madara's augmented eye through the Stone of Inheritance. For others, it's hard enough to fit and navigate, let alone master, and seize. But Long Yu has an instant full-level system. As long as there is a chance, he will have the opportunity to completely master the divine power. Moreover, with the help of divine power, it is possible for Long Yu to learn his own time-space ninjutsu. At that time, the technique of Flying Thunder God was just tasteless to Long Yu. What shall I do? Uchiha Obito regained his senses a little. However, as soon as he met his gaze, Obito Divine Soul suddenly shook violently and fell directly into a state of absent hypnosis. That feeling is like this: when you look at the person and confirm that they are right, you are directly confused. Magic. Long Yu gave a cold drink, and the 9-hook jade kaleidoscope writing wheel began to spin wildly. Uchiha Obito's star-shaped writing wheel eye, like a wind demon shuriken, also turned quickly. A huge pupil power surged out of the pupils, and went straight to the sky. Like a raging dragon, the next moment under the watchful eyes of the public, he went straight to Uchiha Long Yu and swept away violently. Bang! The powerful pupil power directly drilled into Long Yu's Jugo Jade writing wheel, forming a huge sealing technique. Added a kaleidoscope style similar to the Wind Demon Shuriken on the surface of the original 9-go Jade writing wheel eye. As long as Ryu's thoughts move, the seal of the pupil technique will be released, and then he will display the unique time and space ninjutsu power of Uchiha Obito. Old Soil, are you alright? Seeing that the kaleidoscope writing wheel in Uchiha Obito's pupils disappeared, Nohara Rin couldn't help asking. What happened to me? What happened to me? Where did my kaleidoscope writing wheel go? Uchiha Obito suddenly came back to his senses, looking at the reflection in the forehead guard, obviously a little urgent. After all, the most fearful thing I have ever owned is loss, especially that is the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, which is called super wall hanging. Will I be able to kick Kakashi and my teacher Konoha's golden glitter wave Minato in the future? It's all based on his dreams. Don't worry, it's just that the pupil power consumption is too much and it has disappeared temporarily. Long Yu patted Obito's shoulder helplessly. After all, this means of capture is a bit unreasonable. In other words, it is a robbery and domination. If Long Yu's cheeks weren't a little thicker than ordinary people, he wouldn't be able to do it as a virgin bitch. Is it? Obito obviously hadn't responded with joy. For him, too much consumption is better than hallucinations. Yes. Long Yu reluctantly replied again. Next, as a reward for capturing divine power, let me show you how I fight. Bastard human beings, there is so much nonsense, do you really not take me seriously? Die for me. Nanao roared up to the sky. The scene just now seemed very complicated, but it was only about half a minute between before and after. However, for Nanao, who just got out of the ban, this is a shame. The 6 wings on the back suddenly shook, setting off a huge hurricane, and under the bluff of the blood basin, one after another, the acid liquid of white smoke shot out like a machine gun. The speed was so fast that he approached Susanoo in the blink of an eye, landed on the armor, and when it made a sizzling sound, a large cloud of white smoke appeared. Along with that madly falling offensive, Long Yu took a step forward under the watchful eyes of the public. The huge Susanoo, which was several hundred meters tall, also quickly shrank under the attack, leaving only a dozen meters left to protect Uchiha Itachi and others. This strange scene shocked everyone, but Shigeki Nanao showed a hint of joy. They couldn't understand why Uchiha gave up Susanoo, who has the advantage of size and absolute defense. With his bare hands, he confronted Shigeki Nanao. Could it be that the so-called captured one really has the ability to suppress the tailed beast? However, compared with other people's doubts, Uchiha Obito couldn't help clenching his fists, showing a hint of urgency. Haha, Uchiha brat, you have been hiding in the turtle shell. I may have to work harder, but now you are so kind, and you even think about saving people in the face of me, then you will die. Shigeki Nanao laughed outrageously. At the same time as the huge feathered wings were bluffing, a series of acid fluids resembling machine guns were spit out from the big mouth of the blood basin. Just a few hundred meters, under the ultimate move of the tail beast, it was obviously pale and powerless, and appeared in front of Long Yu in the blink of an eye. The violent scene tightened everyone's nerves, and even the melon-tailed beast, who had already been transferred and hid by the side, also showed a look of fascination. Compared with the confusion of others, they firmly believe that Uchiha Ryu can definitely beat Nanao. Only thing they have to do is to guess how long the seven tails can last in the hands of Long Yu. However, looking at the acid that came violently, the three-tailed beasts couldn't help holding their breaths, staring straight at Uchiha Ryu, wanting to see the thunderous suppression methods. Just as this idea came to mind, they were stunned the next moment. No, it should be said that everyone in the field was stunned, including Shigeki Nanao, who was flying in the air. Watching the acid like a machine gun shoot down on Uchiha Long Yu's body, the ripples like ripples on the surface of a lake pierced through his body directly. All ended up in the lake. This inexplicable scene made people's pupils shrink suddenly, revealing an expression of disbelief. Is this an illusion or an illusion? Shiyu was the first to lose his temper. However, before anyone could react, Nanao Shigame was temporarily absent-minded in the sky, and a sharp roar was emitted from the sky. The next moment, the 6 wings on the back suddenly shook, like a cannonball, swooping down from the sky. The huge sharp horn ripped apart the air along the way, causing a series of ripples, like a sharp sword falling from the sky, piercing Uchiha Ryu straight away. Magic. Facing this fierce and unparalleled attack, Uchiha Ryu smiled genially. Jugo Jade Writing Wheel eyes turned in vain, turning into a kaleidoscope of style magic. Facing the huge swooping attack, Long Yu seemed to be unaware and let it go straight through his body. With a deafening roar, Shigeki Nanao was inserted into the lake like a sharp arrow. A huge wave was set off and rolled back around. Earth escape wall. Just under the escort of Susanoo, Kakashi, who arrived at the shore away from the battlefield, took the lead. Without the mana consumption of the writing wheel eye, Kakashi, who was half open in the original book, displayed a huge earth formation wall. One shot. The earth wall of tens of meters quickly stretched open, completely blocking the way for the lake to hit the village. The highlight moment of this large-scale operation has only appeared when Bo Ren Chuan was dealing with the psychic beast. I'm sorry, but I completely forgot about you when I was thinking about practicing the handle. Long Yu glanced back, and the people in Taki Ninja Village, who were full of resentment, touched the tip of their nose helplessly. Facing this feeling of entering the body, Long Yu felt a little awkward, but I have to say that Uchiha Obito, as one of the big ones in the original work, has a very powerful kaleidoscope pupil technique. Among them, his right eye can make himself blurred, transfer everything, and enter his own unique pupil space, but this trick requires contact between himself and the target, and a connection can be established. Then, by choosing the spatial coordinates, it materializes itself. As for the left eye given to Kakashi in the original book, it has the ability to tear through space. As long as the eye can see, it can absorb enemy attacks from the air and tear apart all selected objects. It can also endow the 8-foot Changgu Jade, which has the effect of divine space tearing. Sharp means of attacking and defending, escaping invincible, and fighting unexpectedly. Ding dang, congratulations to the host who has learned the divine power of the pupil technique. Will it be immediate? Instantly full. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for learning time and space ninjutsu, whether it is immediately. The perception of time and space is instantly full. The ethereal voice of the system resounded in Uchiha Ryu's mind. This long-awaited moment also proved that the idea of capturing divine might was feasible. Then, the next step is to take this as an opportunity to derive his own pupil technique. Give me an instant full level. Long Yu's thoughts moved, and the ethereal voice of the system sounded again in his mind. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dang, congratulations to the host's pupil magic power instantly reaching full level. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the time and space perception is instantly full. The ethereal voice of the system dissipated, a warm current filled Ryu Uchiha's mind, and there were more ways to use Shinwei. When he opened his eyes, a huge sound of breaking water suddenly echoed. Bang! Nanao Shigeki broke through the water directly, and missed again with one blow, and the force was too strong, and the seemingly indestructible sharp corners were obviously still hung with silt and water plants. This full-strength blow is obviously not easy to hit the wall. Looking at Long Yu, who was still unscathed and suspended in midair, Seven Tails raised his head to the sky and screamed, with an indescribable anger. Roar! The sound waves are rolling, the blood basin is bluffing, and the power of the violent-tailed beast, like a frenzy, frantically pours into the mouth. Just a few short breaths, the violent chakra of the man's words turned into a pitch-black energy ball under the frantic compression. This is the tailed beast Jade. Shiyu's face instantly turned ashen. However, in the next moment, Nanao Shigeki's behavior made him even want to die. Damn Uchiha brat, Madara Uchiha is very cunning, but he can't compare to you. Nanao Shigeki roared again and again. The successive defeats clearly made it extremely impatient. Otherwise, it will not be so fast, and the tailed beast Jade at the bottom of the pressure box will be displayed. Chapter 185, Tail Beast Escape. The huge compound eyes turned in vain, locked in the direction of Shiyu and the others, and then roared again. You like to hide so much, I want to see if you will break your promise in the face of this blow. Bang! As soon as the voice fell, the tailed beast Jade was swallowed out instantly, the tyrannical force was vented, and the air along the way seemed to be directly penetrated. Along with the turbulent ripples in the air, it spread across a kilometer in the blink of an eye, and went straight to the wall of the earth formation that Kakashi displayed. Everyone, hurry up and cast the earth formation wall. Shiyu didn't have time to think about it. For him, this incident is a fight between gods and mortals. The face of the attack of the tailed beast, Long Yu, can be neutralized, but it does not mean that they can turn a blind eye. The roaring hurricane hit the face, and the hundreds of tacky ninjas led by Shiyu, their hands and legs that flew quickly, were shaking. In the face of such violent and huge chakra fluctuations, for them who are not good at earth escape, the so-called defense is nothing but a drop in the bucket. Come on. Kakashido glanced at Long Yu. However, Kakashi couldn't help but let out a hurried "you" to his indifferent attitude. When the hands suddenly clasped together, the space node where the tailed beast Jade, which was quickly rolled from the void, was twisted like a vortex. The next moment, before everyone could react, the roaring tailed beast Jade disappeared out of thin air. The sudden scene caused many people to rub their eyes. If it weren't for the air, there would still be chakra fluctuations. I'm afraid no one wants to believe that in the face of such a powerful tail beast Jade attack, it will disappear out of thin air. PFF'd. A trace of spatial fluctuation appeared in the sky that Long Yu could reach. The next moment, the transferred tailed beast Jade appeared out of thin air again. With the sound of a thunderous explosion, a huge wave of air impacted, setting off a big wave and rolling around. Even Shiyu and the others, who were on the ground thousands of meters apart, could clearly feel the impact of this air wave. If the blow just now had really landed in Taki Ninja Village, they would be completely vulnerable just by virtue of their fur-like earth formation walls. This method is somewhat similar to the time-space enchantment of Teacher Minato, which can transfer things to the selected space coordinates, but the space node he chose to transfer is probably within his sight. I think this tailed beast Jade can be returned to Nanwei Shigame unexpectedly. Kakashi spoke first. He is indeed a genius. It can be said that his genius is not only reflected in the strength, but also in the brain talent of the Nara clan. Can see the clues just by looking at it once, and if you place it in any ninja village, you can become a generation of military advisors. Kakashi, you mean, if this is my pupil technique, can I do it too? Uchiha Obito grabbed Kakashi's shoulder, couldn't help laughing and said, Kakashi, do you see, I'm not the tail of the crane now, I will torture you well in the future, let you know the 5th Hokage, it will be me, not you. I also have a Hokage dream. This is in the original book, except for Naruto Uzumaki, who is unfortunate. Regardless of. It is as strong as Madara Uchiha, who was abused to the point of almost dying. Or rope tree and broken, and died on the battlefield. Even Uchiha Obito is no exception. As for Sasuke Uchiha, I heard that I once had such a dream. It can be said that, compared with other ninja villages, even if in the original book, he and the 4th generation of Raikage put down their rhetoric and will see you next time as Namikaze Minato, who is also a short-lived species. In Hokage's position, even my ass didn't even get hot. As for following in his footsteps, there is another Danzo who has been staring at him for decades and has even worse luck, and he stopped working after a few days. It's a cursed bit, so to speak, who is unfortunate. Only unintentional people can do it. Obito, I advise you not to be too happy. Kakashi rolled his eyes and said, don't forget, not everyone is Uchiha Ryu, his talent is unfathomable, even I can't figure out the depth, the same pupil technique can be used in his hands hundreds of times. 100% can be used, but it is up to you, whether you can use 80% or 50%, this is also unknown. Furthermore, this pupil technique can deflect such powerful attacks as the tailed beast Jade, but it also consumes a lot of chakra and pupil power. With your small body, it is another matter whether you can do it or not. Give it to me now. When you say you want to be Hokage, be careful with your tongue-in-cheek words. Uchiha Obito suddenly became angry. It felt as if someone was pouring cold water on his head. However, there was no way to refute it. After all, as Kakashi said, not everyone is Uchiha Ryu. Long Yu also did not refute Kakashi's words, he just used the pupil power of Shinwei's left and right eyes to superimpose. The long-distance space absorption and transfer displayed, this method is placed in the original work. Even Uchiha Obito, who has only one eye, can't do it. But at the same time, the consumption of chakra, pupil strength, and physical strength is also doubled, and there is also a time cooling of 5 seconds 5. However, after this attempt, Long Yu also came up with a clue for his unique pupil technique. No way! Shigeki screamed, and the huge compound eyes suddenly turned and locked on Uchiha Ryu. If the physical attack is just a test, then the tail beast pill is its killer at the bottom of the box. However, even this move was easily resolved, and the strength of the young man in front of him was still underestimated by it. The huge compound eyes flickered, and in the next moment, under the bluffing of Nanwei Shigeming's blood basin, endless scales and powder rushed out like a raging tide. Accompanied by the vibration of the huge feather wings, the rolled-up hurricane, the pale yellow scale powder, quickly rolled back around, occupying the entire world in a blink of an eye, completely hiding Nanao Shigeki's figure. Everyone, be careful, this is the secret technique of the 7 tails, the hidden technique of scales and powders. As the village chief of Taki Ninja Village, Shizuo of course knew very well what means Nanao Shigeki had. He quickly covered his mouth and nose, and shouted in a hurry, "Once this scale powder enters the body, it will produce a sign of paralysis and poisoning." The violent scene instantly tensed everyone's nerves. However, facing the tactics chosen by Shigeki Nanao, even Kakashi was shocked. After the short fight just now, he also saw that the divine power displayed by Uchiha Ryu was able to blur himself, and at the same time he could attack from a long distance. This method looks very defiant, but behind every ninjutsu, there is a weakness. For example, Kamui, the biggest weakness is facing saturation attacks. In the original work, Xiaonan fought against the prodigal family in the century, and the technique of 6 billion detonating talismans was also to achieve this effect. By Shigeki Nanao also has the same effect. Now, Kakashi and the others want to see how Dragon Feather is hiding under the tail beast. Lin, have you felt the chakra fluctuations of Nanao? Uchiha Obito couldn't hold back his breath. After all, this is the pupil technique he possesses. Although Uchiha Ryu is fighting, his blood will inevitably boil while watching. At the moment, Nanwei is using poison scale powder to restrain the divine power, which also makes him feel unhappy. There is no way, there is chakra left in this scale powder, and even my perceptual ninjutsu cannot find Nanao's figure. Nohara Rin shook her head solemnly. However, the moment he turned his eyes and landed on Long Yu, his expression suddenly changed. Long Yu's appearance has changed, it seems to be the immortal mode owned by Minato-sensei. Immortal mode Uchiha Obito and Kakashi couldn't help but stunned. As students of Namikaze Minato, of course they clearly know what means their teachers have. Among them, the immortal mode is also known as a more difficult existence than the level forbidden technique. When Lianbofeng Minato was first learned, it also took a lot of time to collect the power of nature. However, now Uchiha Ryu just clapped his hands and stepped into the immortal mode. The gap between the front and the back is a bit too big. Want to escape? Long Yu smiled playfully. In the fairy mode, these scale powders affect the perception of the ninja, but they cannot completely cover the fairy mode and sense the subtle changes of natural forces. His eyes turned in vain, and locked on the mountain rock wall thousands of meters away. Perhaps, Nanao Shigeki was worried that flying randomly would cause the scale powder to blow away, so he was found. So I chose the most conservative escape method. However, at the moment when Long Yu's eyes fell, Shigeki Nanao was obviously feeling it, and he let out an unbelievable long howl. At the same time, the wings on his back suddenly shook and galloped away quickly. At this moment, it was obvious that it intended to give up its concealment. Oh my god, what did I see? The tailed beast took the initiative to escape. What the hell, you go up there and try. If you run into an opponent that you can't even attack, why don't you just wait to die if you don't escape? However, that Konoha blood-colored Asura, why didn't he chase? His eyes seemed to have changed. Scene suddenly became cluttered. The scale powder that originally filled the entire world was all swept away at the moment Nanao Chungming fluttered his wings. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on Long Yu's body. I saw that under the watchful eyes of everyone, Long Yu not only did not pursue, but slowly closed his eyes, and many thoughts flashed in his mind. Perception of Amaterasu, Yudu, Shinwei and other pupil techniques, with the help of the system, that kind of depth cannot be described in words at all. Accompanied by all kinds of information and complex calculations, as well as the supplement of experience, the huge information flow gathered together rushed straight into Uchiha Ryu's mind like a raging tide. Boom! Deep in my mind, there was a roar, and Long Yu suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 186, Subversion of Cognition. The right hand suddenly grabbed it from the air, and the scarlet, blood-like nine-hooked jade kaleidoscope writing wheel swirled frantically. Everyone in this space only felt a slight pause in the speed of the air circulation. The next moment, before they could react, Nanao Shigeki, who was fleeing quickly in the distance, froze for a moment. Clenched tightly by an invisible big hand, Those wildly vibrating wings gave people a feeling of being in a quagmire and struggling to move. The most unbelievable, the world where Shigeki Nanao is located, no matter what, was a tree or a rocky mountain. Even the earth and lake water beneath him seemed to be crazily backed up by an invisible force and collapsed. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Looking at Shigeki Nanao, who seemed to be frozen in the void, struggling frantically and screaming mournfully. Kakashi's pupils shrank suddenly, and he exclaimed, This is gravity space. Ding dang, is it immediately detected that the host has acquired the gravitational pupil. Instantly full. The ethereal voice of the system echoed in Uchiha Longyu's mind. Longyu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At first, he just guessed, deduced and tried, but he didn't expect that he would succeed once. Although the gravity pupil in front of him can only change 5 times the gravity, and there are still many flaws, but in front of the system, all peculiar actions are possible. Immediately. Instantly full. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, gravity pupil has been fully leveled in an instant. With the ethereal system sound resounding again, a warm current emerged in Longyu's mind, and his understanding of gravity pupil was undoubtedly raised to the extreme. 10 times the gravity, the longest duration is 30 seconds, and the cooldown is 5 seconds. Longyu raised his brows. He already had a deep understanding of these restrictions within the rules set by the world. There is no absolute invincibility in any world, and there are different worlds among creatures, including gods and humans. However, this is not important to Longyu. The most important thing is that he successfully created his own kaleidoscope brush wheel pupil technique. Human child, hurry up and let go. I will see how long you can last under the attack of my tailed beast Jade. Nanao Shigeki roared. As one of the 9-tailed beasts, its strength is not outstanding. But being so humiliated by people, it is obviously unbearable for the self-esteem of its tailed beast. In particular, at the beginning, it put down its harsh words and wanted to make Taki Shinobi Village pay enough. The air is shaking suddenly. Nanao's movement speed is limited by the gravitational space, but the mere 5 times, only at the beginning, can make it the most limited. Now once you get over, you have to open your bloody mouth and condense the tailed beast chakra all over your body to form the tailed beast Jade. This is not a difficult task. Looking at it, the dark chakra gathered in his mouth crazily. The chilling smell of chakra made Shiyu cry. His only thought now is to pray to Longyu to end this battle quickly. A mortal's fight, let alone these mortals suffer. I am afraid that even their lives will not be good. However, as soon as this thought appeared, Longyu's eyes suddenly widened again. Jugo Jade's riding wheel eyes turned frantically, and an even larger gravity, like a frenzy, bombarded Nanao Shigeki's body. That was barely opened, the tailed beast Jade that gathered together, was instantly bitten by the closed mouth. At the same time as the thunderous explosion sounded, the huge body of the 7 tails, like a meteor from the sky, smashed heavily on the rocky earth below, which had been shattered by gravity. Boom! The ground shattered, and the air waves rolled down. With a radius of 1,000 meters seems to be overwhelmed, and it is coming. Originally, Chi, whose body length was nearly 100 meters, was buried alive in it. The air waves rolled back, the sand and dust dissipated, the sky and the earth returned to clarity. That came into view once again made Taki Shinobu, and even Kakashi and the others present, feel like they were going crazy. God, am I dazzled? Tell me quickly, this scene is not real. 1, 2, 3, there are 3 more head-tailed beasts. Is this the day that God wants to destroy our Taki ninja village? Counting the 7-tailed Chongming, the 4-tailed beasts are gathered together. Can Konoha blood-colored Asura resist? Such a huge scene, hundreds of thousands of Taki ninjas thought that after the battle just now, their nerves had become extremely strong. However, it never occurred to me that this was just the beginning. That suddenly appeared, under the shock of my heart. I can't wait to slap myself dozens of times, hoping that I can wake up in this dream. No, you can see it clearly. These are the tailed beasts in the hands of Konoha Scarlet Asura in the major ninja villages in the intelligence. Shiyu was the first to speak. As the head of a village, no matter how useless he is, but his intelligence ability is still not small. In the face of major events in the ninja world, he is also well aware of it. That's the two-tailed cat of Yunnan village, the three-tailed Isoda of Wonan village, and the four-tailed Sun Wukong of Yan'an village. In the presence of Shiyu's eyes, the three hill-like silhouettes quickly swept across. Past. However, the more I looked at this, the more shocked the face became, and finally showed a look of disbelief, saying, what is going on here? These tailed beasts not only have no seal fluctuations, but also control the pupil technique. There is no shadow. Yes, that's his charm. Kakashi spoke suddenly. Being able to convince the tailed beast actively, I am afraid that in the entire ninja world, only he can do it. Cough, Kid Kakashi, I didn't expect us to meet again. Last time you owed Lao Su a grilled fish. Don't run away later, go catch the fish for me and come back. Sanwei's huge eyes rolled and landed on Kakashi's body, saying, if you dare to run away, I will send you flying with one tail. The sudden remarks made Kakashi's expression turn blue, and Nohara Rin, who was beside him, couldn't help but burst into laughter. Let the dignified and depressing atmosphere in the field ease a little or two. This kind of laughing action made Taki Shinobu, who was present, have a kind of inexplicable illusion. It turns out that the tailed beast is not very scary. You bastard, even if my body dissipates today, I will tear you into pieces. Nanao roared and rushed out of the ruins. When the wings vibrated, the hurricane brought up, the sand and dust rolled up, and the moment it rose into the sky, I suddenly realized that the scene was a little wrong. Too many familiar faces in that scene. Haha, Xiaoqi, don't be old-fashioned, it's all Stinky Turtles and Dead Monkey's ideas. You have to hide and let the boss teach you a good meal, then you are willing to come out and be an old man. 22 Tails were the first to speak and poured dirty water directly. Two Tails, you guy, who is secretly having fun just now, and now he betrays us, we won't spare you. Sanwei suddenly blew his beard and stared. However, as soon as these words fell, the four tails standing beside him quickly shifted his pace a little and stood beside the second two tails. I can testify that all these nasty ideas were made by the Stinky Turtle. I heard that it was severely abused by the boss at the beginning, and it was unhappy that we would not come out. Dead monkey, you. The three tails suddenly became angry, and this step on the horse is like a dumb person eating Wonglian. Although it is clear that the eyes of the masses are sharp. However, when Sanwei cast his hopeful eyes on the melon eaters in the field, he had already turned his head and dispersed. After seeing the monstrous ferocity of the tailed beast with his own eyes, who would dislike the longevity of the people present to meddle with the tailed beast? This ride is just looking for trouble. Okay, my pupil power is also consumed a lot, you guys get together first, I seem to have a guest here. Long Yu watched the appearance of the three-tailed beasts hiding in the dark to watch the play, and knew that this actual combat training would not last. Looking back, Nanwei Shijeming, Long Yu turned around and left. You bastard, just a bastard. Suddenly woke up with a stunned look on his face, and while screaming sharply, he intended to flutter his wings and swept away in the direction of Long Yu. However, as soon as it moved one or two times, the three-tailed beast's chakra soaring to the sky exploded like a frenzy, gathered together, formed a terrifying aura, and went straight to the sky. That were originally accumulated in the sky also penetrated in response to this blow. Distance, it seems that a huge space funnel appears in the whole sky. The violent scene made Nanao Shigeki stunned. They are both tailed beasts, and they thought that in the face of human enslavement, they should stand on the same front and fight violently. But now, the murderous intent of the three-tailed beasts is obviously locked on it. At this moment, Nanao Shigeki believed that as long as it moved a little or two, it would definitely die. Nanwei, if you dare to take another step, I will kill you. One step before killing me, Nanao Shigeki was stunned. It never thought that the three-tailed beast would say such a thing to himself. Although, there will be disputes between their 9 big-tailed beasts. But in the face of human beings, it has always been consistent with the outside world. However, the scene in front of him completely subverted its cognition. Nanwei, I advise you to stop. The boss has shown mercy just now, otherwise you wouldn't be alive in front of our eyes now. Sanwei put away her usual hippie smile and said in a heavy tone. Of course, if you, who are also tailed beasts, are unilaterally killed by the boss, I think you still hope that you will die in our hands. The face of this remark, the 2 tails and 4 tails did not agree, but the eyes locked on Nanao have already explained it all. For a time, the atmosphere of the scene fell into silence, and after more than 10 seconds, the fierce aura from Nanao was instantly restrained, and said, I want to know why you follow him, because you feel his strength. Are you scared, intimidated? Don't forget, we didn't give in to the kid from the Senju family and the abominable Madara Uchiha that day. Until now, I'm still resisting the fate of being enslaved. Could it be that you all really forgot? The slightly elusive voice reverberated between heaven and earth, and there was no way to dissipate it for a long time. The 3-tailed beasts looked at each other at the same time and said, No, you are wrong, we just saw the figure of the old man on him. Chapter 187, Born Son. And, he is the only one who sincerely considers us to be friends. Shigeki Nanao was stunned by the figure of the old man. For outsiders, they may not know who the old man is. But the immortals of the 6 paths are like reborn parents to their tailed beasts. Most importantly, the 6-path immortals once told them that day. One day, they who live in this world as tailed beasts will also meet their own friends. Is this the friend you identify with? After a long time, Nanao couldn't help but speak. This time, the 3-tailed beasts did not speak, but nodded in unison. As the chakra soaring to the sky dissipated, that eerie feeling disappeared. Looking around the huge shinobi village, apart from Uchiha Ryayu, no matter what. It was Kakashi, Uchiha Itachi and the others, and Taki Shinobu village, who also fell to the ground helplessly. For them, when the 4-tailed beasts face each other with swords drawn, a battle breaks out. Not to mention the destruction of the village, I am afraid that even Taki Ninja village will be wiped off the map directly. Brother, do you really not need to worry about them? Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but glance at it. Thinking that not long ago, he had carelessly brought Nanao into the Taki Ninja village, and almost made a big mistake, Uchiha Itachi was still brooding in his heart. Don't worry, they won't fight. Reached out his hand dotingly, rubbed it on Uchiha Itachi's head and said, You brat, why did you run out of the village alone? If we hadn't arrived in time, what if you were identified as a traitor? Rebel. Uchiha Itachi dodged Long Yu's hand, glared at him, and said, Whoever told you to leave, don't tell me in advance. If I am judged to be a traitor, I will follow my brother, wouldn't that be nice? Looking at Uchiha Itachi, who is a bit stubborn, if Itachibuki in the original book knew that Uchiha Itachi, in the hands of Long Yu, directly destroyed the character design, I am afraid that he would vomit to death. However, after Long Yu glanced at Uchiha Itachi, he raised his brows and said, You kid, don't talk nonsense, be careful your father beats you. Brother, my dad is reluctant to beat me, he still doesn't know where I am. Uchiha Itachi showed a little pride. However, this arrogance was quickly interrupted by a stern voice from behind. Itachi, you bastard, you left the village without authorization, and now you are still saying such absurd words, don't you know how to repent? Uchiha Fuyu with Shishui, like a ghost, appeared behind Uchiha Itachi. With a big hand on Itachi's shoulder, Kusama Tamadake looked at Obito. Did you also turn on the kaleidoscope? Uchiha Obito is also regarded as the tail of a crane in the Uchiha family. I was 14 or 15 years old, I had not opened the writing wheel, but when I opened my eyes, it was like opening and hanging. Regardless of it was in the original work or the current situation, Uchiha Fuyu took a look. Moreover, Uchiha Obito has just opened his eyes and is not very proficient in the control of pupil power. Although the kaleidoscope has been closed, the pupil power still remains. Patriarch, it's Brother Yu who helped me open it up. Uchiha Obito gave Long Yu one more look, and then hesitantly opened his mouth. Don't be nervous, in addition to you, the Patriarch and Zishui also have a kaleidoscope. As for Itachi, they can also open it in the future. Long Yu smiled and patted Obito's shoulder. However, these words fell in the ears of Uchiha Fuyu, and his expression suddenly changed. Long Yu, you mean, the most important person around Itachi died? Uchiha Madara is the first existence of the Uchiha family to open the kaleidoscope writing wheel. I also know the drawbacks of the kaleidoscope writing wheel and also know the existence of the eternal kaleidoscope. But all along, Uchiha Madara did not choose to mass-produce kaleidoscope owners. 1. This method will make the Uchiha clan, blood and blood, eventually evolve into a blood-like existence, which will inevitably lead to the withering of the Uchiha clan and accelerate the decline. 22. Uchiha Madara's ambition dictates that he sees a member of the Uchiha clan who is stronger than himself. After all, the most powerful means of the Uchiha clan is not the fire escape, but the flower tube writing wheel eye. Once the eyes are opened, it is like opening and hanging. The difference cannot be measured by common sense. Third, Madara Uchiha believes in the supremacy of personal strength. Because of these three reasons, even the Uchiha clan chief, who was an exception, opened his eyes unexpectedly. I don't even know how to have an eternal shaker. Of the Uchiha clan in the past have not leaked this secret because of the consolidation of their own regime. Over time, it has evolved into a secret family that cannot be declared. Long Yu, do you know the consequences of doing this? Uchiha Fuyu was the first to lose his temper. Uchiha Shisui also showed a hint of urgency and looked at Long Yu. Unlike Uchiha Fuyu, Shisui is completely conservative. In the original work, in order to prevent the Uchiha family from running wild, he also offered a plan to the three generations of Hokage, intending to use other gods to change Uchiha Fugaku's choice and mentality. After opening eyes with Zishui's IQ, he clearly calculated the clue. When, the opening of the kaleidoscope is not something anyone can do. It also requires talent and pure blood. Don't worry, in the Uchiha clan, there are only a few people who can make me look right. Long Yu smiled and rubbed Uchiha Itachi's head. Next time, if Itachi wants to turn on the kaleidoscope, you can find me. Hearing these words, Uchiha Fugaku secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After hesitating for a moment, he said, if there is a child in Makoto's belly, is there a chance? Long Yu raised his brows, and indeed he forgot that there was another Uchiha Sasuke. In the original work, Uchiha Sasuke's early stage can only be regarded as a soy sauce, with a little more drama. As for the word genius, it doesn't show much. Otherwise, it wouldn't be completely obscured by Uchiha Itachi's halo. In the later stage, it was also because of Uchiha Itachi's kaleidoscope writing wheel eye that he had the ability to have the air in seconds. Pity that Uchiha Itachi just kept Amaterasu in Sasuke's eyes. Known as one of the strongest illusions, was annihilated in the long river of history. And Uchiha Ryayu, with the help of the booster eye, further strengthened the reading of the moon. The illusions displayed are enough to take chaos seriously. In unexpected situations, it can deceive the awakening of the kaleidoscope shaker. For uncle's sake, reluctantly agree. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said, Itachi, don't stare at me, I have promised you, Lao Su, I highly doubt that you will be a brother-in-law in the future, and even women don't like it. Brother, I don't have it. Uchiha Itachi hurriedly retorted. My brother, I haven't given a name yet. Father, why don't you ask my brother to pick one? Let Feather take. Uchiha Fuyu couldn't help but startled. Due to the time of the Third Ninja World War, there have been more disputes in Konoha Ninja Village recently. dissatisfaction and ambition within the Uchiha clan gradually increased. As a result, he had no time at all to name his soon-to-be-born son. Looking at Uchiha Itachi's eager face, Fuyu hesitated for a moment and then said, "You brat, you have been making a splash in the ninja world recently, and your aunt is also very worried about you. I'll let you choose this child's name. In the future, that kid may be happy and proud when he knows it. Is this okay?" Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. Looking at Itachi with hot eyes, Long Yu was too lazy to work his brain cells and said, "Sasuke. Sasuke Uchiha Sasuke." Uchiha Itachi was stunned at first, and he couldn't help but mutter a few words to himself, and then his eyes lit up. "Father, this name is very good. From now on, my younger brother will be called Sasuke. He will definitely become a ninja like me." Looking at the excited Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Shisui was stunned at first, and said, "This seems a little out of place. What if my aunt doesn't like it?" For Uchiha Shisui, as a new star of the Uchiha clan, he has always attracted much attention. Regardless of is in the village or within the Uchiha clan, it is no exception. Most importantly, he has a younger brother who admires him deeply. Also, this younger brother is a genius. This kind of feeling that makes geniuses look up to, cannot be expressed in words at all. However, the birth of Uchiha Ryu turned everything upside down. The halo of genius of the Uchiha family was taken away, and the much-anticipated treatment was no exception. But what makes Uchiha Shisui unacceptable the most is Uchiha Itachi's admiration for Uchiha Longyu. "I thought that this time I took the risk and rescued Uchiha Itachi, which would be able to overwhelm Longyu." In Uchiha Itachi's heart, he re-established a figure that was admired. Pity that Uchiha Shisui's heart was pulled in pain in the face of the scene that suddenly appeared again and was in the limelight. Most importantly, the current Uchiha Ryu seems to have another little fanboy. Although, being admired by the tail of a crane like Uchiha Obito is not a glorious thing. However, if it is a little fan who has turned on the kaleidoscope writing wheel, it is another matter. Therefore, in this matter of naming, Uchiha Shisui still holds the mentality of being able to suppress Uchiha Ryu. No, I didn't expect that Longyu and Makoto thought the same, and they both thought that the name Sasuke was the best. Uchiha Fugaku laughed suddenly. In fact, from the beginning, he was a little reluctant in his heart. After all, this son is not born by the old king next door. If Longyu hadn't rescued Itachi, and at the same time Longyu was too much attention during this time, Fuyu would not have made such a decision. Now that he could be named the same as Makoto, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Uncle, Auntie, have you really figured it out?" Uchiha Shisui asked urgently. Fuyu frowned and said, "Zishui, your aunt has already mentioned this matter, and you have also thought about letting Longyu choose the name, and the name Sasuke is also very good. Why are you so concerned about this matter? Is there something unspeakable?" Chapter 188, Defeat Them in Cooking. No, I just don't want my aunt and uncle to think that this name is not good and disappoint Longyu's wishes. Uchiha Shisui explained in a hurry. Hehe, Zishui, don't care too much. If uncle and aunt think this name is not good, just change it again. I don't mind at all. Longyu laughed dryly, looking at Ji Shui with a hint of smile. For the original work, the intention is to change the Uchiha Shisui of the entire Uchiha family with the power of one person. The change in his heart, Longyu actually guessed a little bit. Now just hope he doesn't do anything stupid. Otherwise, Longyu doesn't mind, and teach him how to behave. Boss, are you finished talking? We're all hungry. Look at this period of time, you're busy on the road, and you're all starving and thin. Should you cook something for us? The Three Tails voice suddenly came. He jumped on Longyu's shoulder, and from time to time he used his hideous head to rub against Longyu's neck. Uchiha Shisui and others who were present, together with the people from Taki Ninja Village, couldn't help being stunned when they saw the four-tailed beasts that had changed into the size of Erha. After all, in the eyes of the vast majority of people, the tailed beast is a vicious existence. Every time it appears, it represents the coming of disaster. However, now Long Yu has trained the four-tailed beasts to be like Erha, and he is only about to roll around. Okay, you are covered in scales, and you really intend to rub me to death. Long Yu rolled his eyes and said angrily. Are the materials ready? Yes, ready. Three Tails heard it, they immediately. He came to the spirit, he hurriedly jumped down and looked at the huge snow-white body of more than 10 meters by the lake. My God, this is the king of fish in the lake, finally caught. HMPH, don't look at who shot, I'm afraid there's nothing in the water, it's the opponent of Isaomio. Although this fish king doesn't eat people, he always attacks people in the village. It's a good thing to be caught. However, do the tailed beasts need to eat? Why are they excited and yawning? Stinky Turtle, I promised to surrender, but I have no plans. Like you, I have no morals at all. Being an Erha here will be seen as a joke. Nanao Shigeki couldn't help but said angrily. The coercion and temptation of the three-tailed beasts, Nanao also agreed to give in temporarily. However, next, I saw Sanwei taking the lead, ran into the lake to catch fish, and finally transformed into the size of Erha. I almost rubbed the legs of my trousers when I ran. This kind of feeling is almost the same as the Erha who raises his feet to pee and squat down to poop. However, in the face of such a disgusting act, the three-tailed beasts were actually quite happy. This is something Nanao Shigeki cannot accept at all. Can you eat the morals you said? Sanwei looked around the big fish, turned around and threw a word to Nanao. Wait a while, don't be greedy, but we can eat a little more without you. The fish is a little small, and it's not enough for me to pick my teeth. I don't know, is there any more in this lake? Seeing Mitsuha who ran to the edge of the lake, staring at the water surface with blue light in both eyes, the people of Taki Ninja Village couldn't help but give a shudder. Now it has become a tailed beast the size of Erha, and it looks very cute. But if you stare at them, say a sentence that is also very delicious for human flesh. This made the entire Taki Ninja Village unable to eat and walk around. HMPH, I wouldn't do such a shameful thing as you, and we tailed beasts don't need to eat. If you give up your dignity for this trivial matter, I can't do this kind of thing. Nanao snorted coldly. The original Erha-like body, with a bang, a large cloud of smoke came out, and it returned to its original shape again. However, after what I just ate, being coerced and lured by the three big-tailed beasts, Nanao obviously had no intention of running away. Under the vibration of a pair of huge wings, it landed on the lawn not far away, and fell asleep on the ground. Looking at Shigeki Nanao, who is regarded as a ferocious creature, every time it appears, it is synonymous with disaster. Without the seal, this clever gesture completely subverted the cognition of Taki Shinobu and the others. As expected of Konoha's rebelliousness, blood-colored Asura, and even tailed beasts can be tame and obedient. This is something that even the first Hokage and Senju Hashirama could not do. Shiyu said with a face full of shock. Perhaps, handing over Nanao is the best thing to do. In the original, regardless of Madara Uchiha or Senju Hashirama, the means of controlling the tailed beasts are all suppressed by force. If the tailed beast is not resentful, otherwise it will not need to be sealed and suppressed. Compared with Long Yu, it is completely different. Of course, to achieve this premise, you also need to have a strong strength that can crush the tailed beast. Otherwise, in the eyes of the tailed beast, everything is nonsense. The village chief is right, I just don't know what method Uchiha Ryu relied on to make the tailed beast obey. Now it seems that Nanao has surrendered, but according to I'm dissatisfied. Dongxing couldn't help but say. Yu nodded and looked at Shigeki Nanao. He also knew very well how temperamental the ancestor of this tailed beast was. Oral dissatisfaction, but there is a risk of violence at any time. After all, unless a person never sleeps, he wakes up all the time. Otherwise, even with divine might, it would be difficult to resist the violent attacks that may occur all the time. Moreover, it is still a sneak attack by a tailed beast, which is not a fun thing. HMPH, I'm still happy if you don't eat, but don't even know where the morals are going after a while. Sanwei gave Long Yu a disdainful glance, then ran to Long Yu and said, Boss, this fish looks delicious, and it doesn't have many bones. Are you going to get us something? Also, Kakashi, you and that kid Obatu, if you want to eat, hurry up and fight for Lao Su, or wait a while, and I will blast you with a tailed beast jade. Kakashi and Obito were originally considering how to join, but as soon as they said this, they immediately rolled up their sleeves to help. Seeing this scene, Uchiha Fuyu and Shishui were stunned. Like the people in Taki Ninja Village, an inexplicable idea came to mind. As a ninja with outstanding strength, but also at a young age, that time should be spent on cultivation and study. Could it be that the ingredients are genius, and even the cooking skills don't miss the opportunity to express? Patriarch Fuyu, Senior Zishui, remember to do it early, or you won't even have the chance to taste it. Nohara Lin tangled her hands behind her and said with a smile, I won't waste time, go and help first. Leaving those words behind, Nohara Rin also walked over quickly. For a time, facing the food that even the tailed beast and the genius Konoha yearn for, many people became curious about Long Yu's cooking skills. Village chief, we might as well slow down for a while, and don't repair the village for the time being. With them around, there shouldn't be a sneak attack. Dongxing took the lead and couldn't help but said. Also, everyone is hungry. If Uchiha Ryu can really make something delicious, we can follow suit. Faced with this proposal, all the melon-eating people present expressed their urgency. Shiyu looked at Long Yu, who frowned, and said, Okay, let the chefs in the village come out and let them know that the food in our Taki Ninja village is also very good. Although, in terms of combat power, we, Taki Ninja Village, cannot compete with Uchiha Ryu, but in terms of cooking, we must also win and restore morale. Yeah, revive morale and beat them in cooking. Let's hurry up and catch fish. Besides the kingfish, there are other big fish in the lake. Go, hurry up. With Taki Shinobu raising his arms and shouting, the atmosphere in the field changed completely. The Taki Ninja Village, which had almost destroyed the village a moment ago, has now become like a cooking competition, and the atmosphere is abnormally high. The gap between the front and the back made Long Yu look dumbfounded. In the plot is too far-fetched. Cut, a group of frogs at the bottom of the well, fireflies also dare to compete with Haoyu, wait for the boss to shoot, let you understand what the gap is. Sanwei rolled his eyes with disdain, then stuck out his tongue and said in a sigh, Boss, have you thought of what to cook? Under this kind of ignorant challenge, you must cook a dish that shakes the heavens and the ghosts and gods, or it's not good to fall into the fame of your Konoha blood-colored Asura. Looking at Sanwei, who completely substituted the character into Erha, saliva almost poured out of the ground out of a small river. After Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly, he finally remembered that the side dishes he made in the seal scroll seemed to have enough time. In front of me into an authentic hard dish. Uchiha Ryu, I have already heard that in the ninja world, your reputation is like thunder. Moment later, an old chef with a head full of silver hair and neatly tied belts, who was about 60 years old, came out with 8 apprentices. Looking at the chef's costume, Long Feng basically guessed what dishes they were going to make. Hello. Was preparing seasonings and kitchen utensils, looked at the imposing old man and replied politely. Long Yu didn't care about the culinary competition. He just wanted to cook a meal quietly and then eat a meal. Hello. My name is Shimujin. This time, thank you for helping us put down the rebellion in Taki Shinobi Village, and at the same time taking Nanao. Old man said this, he took another look at Nanao and said, after that, no one in the village will need to follow my son's path again. However, you won the battle, but besides talent, cooking skills also require absolute time to settle down. Next, let's show you the stunning sushi of our Taki Ninja Village, which will give you a full meal. Lao Shi, the fish is ready. Shiyu walked quickly, maintaining the respect of the younger generation for the old man in front of him. The voice fell. I saw dozens of tacky shinobi, digging out from the lake, holding a fish the size of rice in their hands. Chapter 189, Making Fish. In that way, it is similar to the fish king caught by Sanwei, but the size is more than 10 times different. Okay, although there may be a gap between us in terms of materials, I will conquer you with my cooking skills. Old Shi said in a deep voice, my 8 apprentices have all acquired my true heritage, and today I will compete with you. Go and slaughter the fish, and the rice is the best, I want to make the most delicious sushi. The old voice, with a hint of hoarseness precipitated by the years, inevitably gives people a taste of agitation. As soon as the voice fell, immediately, seeing 8 apprentices, they all took out their knives and started working. Looking at the scene of the large number of people, it was a bit overwhelming, causing the melon-eating crowd around Taki Ninja Village to wave their flags and shout. Long Yu, do you need help? It seems that wherever you go, whatever you do will cause trouble. Uchiha Fuyu smiled dryly, I have cooked at home. In Fuyu's eyes, he originally thought that Uchiha Ryu's appearance in Taki Ninja Village would bring disaster. Never imagined that things would evolve to this point. Gives a sense of bliss. HMPH, father, you really know how to joke. You don't even eat the puppies at the entrance of the village, so don't talk big and flick your tongue and lose your brother's face. Weasel rolled his eyes in disdain. You boy rebelled. Public, Uchiha Fuyu immediately became furious. Facing the uproar in the field, Long Yu did not take it to heart. Looking at the prepared kitchen utensils, as well as all kinds of seasonings and side dishes, Long Yu looked at the one that was still, the big fish, and let out a deep breath. The backhand knotted seal, accompanied by a pop, white smoke came out, and the long needle in the ninja knife fell into his hand instantly. Sanwei, who watched this scene, immediately became energized. No, it should be said that the people present, including the old chef of Taki Ninja Village, also cast their gazes. As a fierce and well-known existence in the ninja world, the level of cooking skills he possesses is also worthy of further investigation. However, as soon as this idea came into his mind, Long Yu went straight into the thunder chakra mode with the electric light flowing all over his body. One step, the whole person disappeared in place like a ghost out of thin air. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the Fish King, who was more than 10 meters away. Without any fancy, the 5 fingers of the right hand were buckled on the huge fish scales, and the arm muscles bulged rapidly. In full view, the backhand threw the Fish King into the sky. The violent scene made the eyes of the people present almost split. Of this Fish King is not much different from that of the tailed beast. Who can do this? In particular, Nanao Shigeki was awakened from his sleep, and the moment he watched this scene, his heart seemed to be tightly clenched by a big hand. Felt as if I had put myself into that Fish King. Thunder escaped, thousand birds flow. Fish King was thrown into the air. Long Yu made a seal with one hand on his left hand, and the thunder light on his body shot up like a frenzy. The speed is so fast, the Fish King is shrouded in it in an instant, the Fish King who was struggling frantically. Under this exact current, he was instantly paralyzed and lost the ability to struggle. To let a fish remove the earthy smell of the fish, it is absolutely not allowed to use dead fish for bloodletting. Only by letting the fish bleed while alive can the maximum umami of the fish be maintained. Looking at the Fish King who was thrown in midair, ready to fall. Long Yu's eyes, the 9-hook jade kaleidoscope writing wheel, suddenly turned down. Legs were slightly bent and kicked, and there was only a trace of arc left on the spot. The next moment, the huge body of the Fish King seemed to stay in the air. An electric light like an afterimage passed by quickly. The gills of the fish were quickly cut, and the blood was poured into the lake water under the traction of a special force. At the same time, under the flash of lightning, the huge scales like the mouth of a bull bounced up in an instant. In the sun, it swirls around. The most unexpected thing is that 2 huge pieces of fish were cut neatly at some point and flew into the lake. That seemingly tedious scene was just a dozen breaths before and after. When they reacted, the fish had been completely cut up. The huge skeleton, the 2 large pieces of fish meat, and the gill gangs are joined together, obviously still maintaining the vital signs of the Fish King. This is riding a horse, and I don't know if I was killed at a fast speed. The art of fire escape impatience. Long Yu's hands fluttered, a series of spells fell, and sparks bloomed in an instant. However, the power of this fire is not great, like a spark in the sky, swaying on the 2 pieces of fish. The next moment, the fish meat made a sizzling sound under the spark. The originally snow-white flesh of the fish was slowly rolled up under the slight burn, and the layer of fish skin became even more taut. Very precise knife technique, and precise fire escape ninjutsu. The heat is so well controlled that it even locks the umami of the fish with a thunderbolt, and then uses sparks to cover the whole piece of fish in an instant, and then the umami contained in it is thoroughly out. On Shimu's face, the bark-like wrinkles were pulled. Looking at the feast-like swordsmanship, combined with ninjutsu, it turned into a supernatural craftsmanship. Contrast to this, the 8 apprentices who had satisfied him and was proud of him just a moment ago. The seemingly skilled knife technique, the gesture of flipping and moving the fish on the chopping board. No comparison between the 2, there is simply no harm. Once compared, it's just as appalling as shit. His eyes have changed. I don't know who exclaimed. Soon I saw the moment when Uchiha Ryu put his hands together, and the immortal mode unfolded again. Under the powerful pupil power and sharp and subtle perception, 2 huge pieces of fish flesh appeared in Long Yu's sight as if they were seen through. The texture of the fish meat, and the fish bones hidden inside, like the meridians of green leaves, emerged one by one. To make fish meat more chewy and tasteful, fish bones are one of the biggest failures. With the silk thread in the long needle of the ninja knife being pulled apart by Long Yu, the light in his eyes suddenly condensed, as sharp as a falcon. The hole turned into lightning and disappeared out of thin air. Look around, no matter what was Kakashi, or Uchiha Fuyu and others, it was only vaguely able to see that the silk thread in Long Yu's hand was quickly wrapped around the fish. The fish bones, where the long needle passed, were instantly and accurately removed. The fishbone in the sky fell. Long Yu's figure suddenly stopped, his right hand grabbed the silk thread, and suddenly pulled it off. Binding the fish, the crisscrossed chakra steel wires, like countless sharp knives, directly cut the fish into slices of the same size and thickness at a precise angle. Bring the big pot. Was in the air, suddenly spoke up. Who had already prepared the thugs directly took out a large basin with a diameter of 8 or 9 meters. This is a cauldron secretly made by Sanwei and Siwei after watching more and more people take food from the tiger's mouth. There are also some kitchen utensils that are specially made in large sizes, in order to eat more. The snow-white fish fell directly into the big basin, and the huge fish head was also cut into small pieces and fell into another big basin. Long Yu glanced at the red-hot cauldron, and he lifted it with his backhand. He poured the oil down, and many spices, such as peppercorns and ginger slices, quickly fell into the cauldron. With the sound of sizzling, the large specially made shovel in his hand also flew up quickly. For a time, the aroma of the material head, accompanied by the steaming smoke, spread out. Brings a tantalizing spiciness. At the same time, Long Yu grabbed the void with his backhand, and the seal scroll fell into his hand, and opened with smoke. Several huge jars fell to the ground. The lid of the altar was opened, an inexplicable sour taste dissipated with the wind, and the specially made sauerkraut gave people a feeling of mouth-watering. The pickled cabbage was taken out, quickly cut by Long Yu's backhand, and fell into the cauldron like a goddess scattered flowers. Quickly stir-fry. When a lot of water is removed, directly add water, and fish bones. Little 4, fire up. Long Yu's hand moved for a while, and said without looking back. Boss, here I come. Smelling this seductive fragrance, the four tails have long been unable to hold back. The voice fell. Pai Dian ran to the side of the cauldron, flipped his hands, and performed fire ninjutsu to heat up. As for the melting and escape, this iron pot is still a bit overwhelming. Although the four tails are impatient, they still endure it. Boss, I just went and stole all the eggs from the whole village. Is that enough? The corner that has been disappearing, all, suddenly appeared. The huge dustpan on his back was full of eggs. Looking at that posture, he completely changed from being the #1 bounty hunter who was ferocious and powerful and shocked the world of ninjas, to a little thief who stole eggs. However, in the face of such a shameless act of theft, the ant who was present did not dare to speak out. The only thing I can do is break my teeth and swallow it in my stomach. At the same time, I am eager to see what kind of plane this Uchiha Ryu, who is known as Konoha's blood-colored Asura, wants to do. Following the orders of the dragon feathers, the three-tailed beasts, Kakashi and the others were busy. After all, such a huge fish king really needs a lot of strength and effort to cook. Although this tempting meal has not been served yet, I looked at the three big-tailed beasts who worked hard, and Uchiha Ryu who used them like servants. A series of sounds of Gulu swallowing saliva were already heard in the arena. It can be said that if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would want to believe that the tailed beast could be so unlimited in order to eat. Boss, the egg whites and fish are ready. Three Tails came running. The saliva from the corners of its mouth, the sight of looking into the pot from time to time, and the constant sound of the belly beating. Long Yu smiled and patted its head. It's almost done, just sprinkle the fish meat in the fish bone soup. Boss, okay. The Three Tails responded urgently. Chapter 190, Reincarnation of Dirty Earth. When the fish meat was evenly scattered, Long Yu poured a large amount of oil in another red-hot pot, and when the oil was hot, has already been prepared, pickled chili powder and other things, fall directly into the hot oil. After a little bit of cooking, it is poured onto the fish in the cauldron. The sound of sizzling oil resounded, and at the same time, there was an extremely attractive spicy taste, mixed with the sweet aroma of fish. With the breeze passing by, no matter who was present, was a tailed beast or a human, they couldn't help but twitched their noses and widened their eyes. That were smeared with egg whites and rolled up quickly under the hot oil, I couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Boss, can you eat? The eyes of the Three Tails are blue, and if it is not for the existence of Uchiha Ryu, I am afraid that it would have already erupted. However, compared with the Three Tails, the second and fourth tails are not too conceited, and the attitude of staring at them gives people a feeling like the current enemy. It's completely different from the way he used to be a servant just a moment ago. In the face of the lively scene in front of him, Nanwei, who was pretending to be aloof in the distance, couldn't help but look at the boiled sauerkraut fish. It is the first time I have seen such a spicy dish with a sweet flavor of fish. Most importantly, the performance of the three-tailed beasts really made it, and even everyone in the field, feel a hint of urgency. Desperate to try it, this is the food that the tailed beast is crazy about. In another minute or two, you can pick up your chopsticks. Long Yu patted the dust on his body and looked at the cauldron that was nearly 10 meters tall. This meal is not easy to cook. When his eyes turned in vain and landed on the 8 apprentices of the Shamu people who had been stunned, they said with a smile, "Want to come and taste the delicious food of Dawaxia?" These words fell, it moved people's hearts like the lever with which Archimino moved the earth. After the 8 apprentices looked at each other, they couldn't help but look at the old man and said, "Master, shall we continue?" Continuing, the old man was stunned for a moment, then said with a wry smile, looking at their expressions, "Do we still have a chance of winning?" 3 days later, with the Kingdom of Iron, the 5 Shadows talks failed. The tightly guarded Konoha ninja village, which had been sealed for 10 days, was pushed open again. The 3 figures, who appeared to be in a state of dust, quickly flashed through the door, and Minato, who was the 4th Hokage, took off the hat that represented Hokage's identity. 4 generations, hard work. An Anbu ninja quickly landed in front of the 3 of them and said, Master Tsunade, Master Jiraiya has also worked hard. It's serious. During this period of time, it is the hardest for you to keep patrolling and guarding. Namikaze Minato yawned. He has the technique of Flying Thunder God, but he accidentally discovered the traces of Orochimaru and Danzo on the road, and the investigation was fruitless, and in the end a lot of time was wasted. Originally thought that after returning to the village, I could squeeze some time out to rest for a while. But now, seeing Huoji Huo Liao appearing in front of her eyes, after being incorporated by the 3 generations of Hokage, as the direct subordinate Anbu, her expression changed slightly. Did something happen? Namikaze Minato changed the subject and said straight to the point. Anbu Ninja was stunned at first, and after a little hesitation, he said, 4th generation, let the 3rd generation tell you personally about this matter. Looking at this scene, Namikaze Minato did not force it. Although, this is in Konoha Shinobi Village, but I don't know if there are other eyeliners, discussing official affairs in such a large audience. This is not a good thing. Watergate, let's go, don't make the teacher wait too long. Jiraiya also nodded and urged. He has been chasing the pace of Orochimaru, intending to save him from the brink of runaway. Unfortunately, it has never been possible to do so. Moreover, the traces of the serpent discovered in the past few days have one thing in common. Cemetery was stolen. This made Jiraiya think of the reincarnation of the dead in the forbidden art of Orochi. This made Jiraiya smell an unusual taste, and eagerly wanted to tell the 3 generations of this. As the 3 of them reached a consensus, Anbu turned around and led the way. When the closed door of the Hokage building was opened, the first person to see was Hiruzen Sarutobi sitting on the seat of Hokage. However, in addition to Sarutobi hidden, there are also figures of Uchiha Fugaku and Shisui in the office. Seeing this scene, Minato Namikaze was stunned for a moment, and then he said anxiously, what happened? Watergate, don't be rude. Jiraiya also took the lead and interrupted. Teacher, this time we went to the Iron Country to participate in the 5 Shadows Conference and ended in failure. On the way, we got news that Uchiha Ryu invaded Yunnan village and took away the 2-tailed cat. After the 4th Raikage learned of this result, despite our dissuasion, the final plan was completely disrupted. Following Jiraiya's narration, the 3 generations of Hokage who closed their eyes and snorted opened their eyes, and there was no surprise on the slightly old cheeks, and said with a smile, these things. I already know the love, Jiraiya, you shouldn't talk to Minato like this in the future. He said that he is also Hokage now, but his identity is a bit higher than you. I know that. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Minato with a bitter face, and coughed dryly. Anyone can see that Namikaze Minato took over the position of the 4th Hokage, completely taking the position, so as to suppress the storm of Uchiha Ryu's betrayal of the village. However, Namikaze Minato is also Hokage after all. Now that he is back in the office, not only is his position occupied, but he also has no right to speak, which is a bit of a loss of face. Cough, 3 generations of adults, you are serious, Teacher Zilayi, you are right, I am too impatient. After Namikaze Minato coughed a few times, he returned to the previous topic and said, 3 generations, when we came back to the village, we found the traces of Danzo and Orochimaru, but when we arrived at Urin village, all the clues were broken. Already. And Orochimaru keeps appearing on the battlefield. I heard that some camps where he was stationed were attacked by him. Having said this, Minato Namikaze looked at Jiraiya more and said, according to the teacher's speculation, Orochimaru may be conducting experiments related to the 2nd generation Hokage-sama, the forbidden technique left behind, and the reincarnation of Dirty Earth. Naruto reincarnation 3rd Hokage's eyes widened involuntarily, and his slightly old-fashioned cheeks showed solemnity, and said, that guy has never been simple. Among your 3 ninjas, the talent is the strongest, but the disposition is the worst. That day they should have smashed him to death. Hearing this secret news, the expressions of Jiraiya and the others couldn't help but change. On the day of Orochimaru's betrayal, it was also because the 3 generations of Hokage discovered that Orochimaru secretly conducted human experiments, and then personally led the team to snipe. In the heyday of middle age, the 3 generations of Naruto were known as ninjutsu professors, as well as the support of the King Kong ape demon. Orochimaru, who did not have a forbidden technique, and who had not even learned how to reincarnate, was not an opponent at all, and was directly blocked in the laboratory by the 3 generations of Hokage. If it wasn't for the 3 generations of Hokage, the next 3 generations of Hokage would not have been successfully counter-killed. Teacher, you don't have to blame yourself. It's Orochimaru's obsession, and I will definitely wake him up. He also said in a low voice. His eyes turned in vain, and fell on Uchiha Fugaku and Shisui. Can the teacher tell us now, what happened in the village during this time? In the past, when Danzo controlled Anbu-gen, Uchiha Fuyuke rarely enters the Hokage office to participate in discussions. Now that Danzo is not there, the situation in the village has changed. But Uchiha Fuyu and Shisui appeared together in the Hokage office, which also made people feel bad. Looking at your expressions, you should be able to guess, it's not easy, right? 3 generations of Hokage didn't break it directly. After selling it for a while, he looked at Uchiha Fuyuke. Fuyu was already mentally prepared, but facing the gaze of the 3 generations of Hokage, he took a deep breath and said, 6 days ago, after Uchiha Itachi left the village without authorization, he was caught by Taki Ninja Village Hookah. His purpose is to get Shironen, to control Shigeki Naneo to carry out a series of mutiny actions, among which he also colluded with the Country of Bears, the betrayal Chixing of Shinran Village. However, when they rebelled, they fought with the team led by Kakashi who infiltrated the Taki Ninja Village. Facing the use of the hero's hookah, Kakashi and others were defeated. At the critical moment, Uchiha Ryu Feather and Horn both appear in Taki Ninja Village. The slightly long-sounding voice echoed in the Hokage office. Under the successive changes of expressions of Minato Namikaze and others, Jiraiya took the lead and couldn't hold back his breath. The result is that Naneo fell into the hands of Uchiha Ryu, and Taki Ninja Village was destroyed. Faced with this questioning, Uchiha Fuyu and Shisui couldn't help but stunned, recalling Shigeki Naneo, who had completely threw away his morals that day, yawning on his face, begging for a taste. Who lined up to see Uchiha Ryu off, and the muscles in his cheeks were still twitching involuntarily. It can be said that this result is too bullshit. Brother Fuyu, what happened? How many people died in Taki Ninja Village? Namikaze Minato's expression changed suddenly, and he asked. Not long ago, but he proposed peace talks with Uchiha Ryu. Although the 5 Shadows talks were a failure, if at this juncture, what would be a huge mishap in Taki Ninja Village? Would be huge damage to Namikaze Minato's reputation, as well as Uchiha Ryu's countermeasures. No. Uchiha Fuyu's expression froze. He touched the tip of his nose awkwardly, and said, Dragon, you helped Takanoin Village to quell the rebellion. In the end, not only Takanoin Village, but even the people from Hoshinan Village, who had been late, lined up to see him off. If you have to say it, I'm afraid Long Yu has become the savior of their 2 ninja villages. The savior Namikaze Minato and the others were stunned, unable to react at all. When they heard this, when their hearts pounded, they were already planning for the worst. Now Uchiha Fugaku not only told them that Long Yu did not destroy Taki Ninja Village, but also became the savior of the world. Is also a cue to say goodbye. Chapter 191. The 5 Shadows Conference was held again. This ride was not in plain sight, but in Hokage's office. They really wanted to slap themselves a few times to see if they were dreaming. Okay, when I heard the news, my thoughts were not much different from yours. The 3 generations of Hokage broke the silence in the field and said, however, there is one thing I want to mention again. According to Kakashi Squad and the battle witnesses provided by Taki Ninja Village, Uchiha Ryu's strength has become stronger, and he has also mastered a new pupil technique. Speaking of this, Uchiha Fuyu's expression changed slightly. That day's battle shocked the entire Taki ninja village. However, the only thing that makes people feel fortunate that the divine power displayed by Long Yu comes from Uchiha Obito, and only Shiyu and other senior officials of Taki ninja village know. At the request of Uchiha Fuyuke, this information was not leaked. After all, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Ryu have appeared in the Uchiha family, both of whom opened the kaleidoscope writing wheel, as if they were hanging. If people from the outside world know, the Uchiha family is except Uchiha Longyu, Fuyu and Shisui. A new Uchiha Obito has been added. As a result, I am afraid that even the high-level officials of Konoha Ninja Village, as well as the daimyo, will be afraid. After all, there is already a precedent for the mutiny of the Uchiha clan. Each of them is in existence with such terrifying strength. Now the Uchiha family has suddenly appeared, so many geniuses and strong kaleidoscopes who write round eyes. It feels a bit like street cabbage. However, there is no shortage of people with the theory of danger in this world. Under the public criticism, the Uchiha family will probably become a huge public enemy of the ninja world. New pupils. Namikaze Minato's expression changed involuntarily, and he said anxiously, in the information provided by the intelligence and Fuyu, doesn't it say that once the Uchiha family opens the kaleidoscope, they can only have at most 3 pupil techniques? As far as I know, Long Yu has already used the Black Flame Amaterasu with the strongest attack, Tsukiyuki with the strongest illusion, and Susanoo with the strongest defense. Now, he has awakened another kind of pupil technique. The voice falls, no matter what. It was Namikaze Minato, and even Jiraiya and Tsunade looked a little more solemn. Anyone who can obtain any one of these 3 pupil techniques is enough to be called a killer. Now Long Yu not only has 3 kinds, but also continues to awaken. Is this person more alive than a human being? As soon as he thinks of this, Zilla is also waiting for others, and the urgency in his eyes is even greater. You are wrong, he has awakened 3 more, and it is still related to space-time ninjutsu. The third Hokage said in a deep voice. In his eyes, a kaleidoscope pupil technique is comparable to a forbidden technique. Now when Long Yu opened his eyes, he had 6 kinds. This can simply be called a person blessed with a forbidden technique. He even mastered space-time ninjutsu. Namikaze Minato's expression changed drastically. Among the many ninjutsu, space-time ninjutsu is very rare. But every person who masters time and space ninjutsu can be called an unbeatable Shaoqiang. Beat it, you can always escape. This is also the main reason why Namikaze Minato has always been selfish and did not want to teach the technique of Flying Thunder God to Long Yu in private. Just ask a person who already has such terrifying power, if he even masters time and space ninjutsu. The huge ninja world, unless Long Yu is determined to fight to the death, who can keep him? Moreover, in the face of his unfathomable strength, who can force him to death? Minato, you should now understand that the matter of Uchiha Ryu has become extremely difficult. 3 generations of Hokage said in a deep voice. Not only can it make itself virtual and ineffective, but it can also transfer attacks from a long distance. At the same time, the third Hokage has the gravity to control a space of heaven and earth, and said, taking out a volume. This is the report that Fuyu brought back. You can see it when you look at it, the horror of space-time ninjutsu. Fuyu Bofengshauman couldn't help but startled. Uchiha Ryu is a member of the Uchiha clan. For this kind of information in the pupil technique, Uchiha Fugaku should not leak it. Moreover, just find an excuse to prevaricate the past, and with the current situation, the 3 generations of Hokage will not go deep. After all, this person is Uchiha Long Yu. Minato, don't stare at me, this is allowed by Long Yu. He said that if there is no challenge at all, then life will be boring, but that is only approximate information, and the effect is also dispensable. Later, you will also find clues. Uchiha Fuyu smiled bitterly. A madman, he is indeed a madman, and we can't compare at all. Namikaze Minato smiled helplessly. Fuyu, you can get information when you fight, but that is the premise of being able to survive. It can be said that Long Yu allows you to hand over this information, which means that each of us has lived one more time. Faced with this remark, the people present couldn't help but feel dull, no matter what. It is Sannin, or the third Hokage, is no exception. After all, from the rise of Uchiha Ryu to the present, it has only been a few short months. The strength he showed was getting stronger every time. They refreshed their cognition again and again. If you are fighting alone, there is absolutely no one in the field who can confront them head-on. Okay, although Minato has the ambition of Long Yu, I also have to admit that the kid is indeed a pervert, and it is possible to reach the level of the ancestors of the Uchiha family, Madara Uchiha, and even the first Hokage. 3 generations of Hokage looked solemn and said after a pause, so next, in order to deal with the turmoil in the ninja world caused by Uchiha Longyu's actions. This time, the old man will personally take the lead and hold the 5 Shadows Conference. 3 generations, why did you say you would hold the 5 Shadows Conference again? Namikaze Minato's expression changed drastically. A few days ago, the meeting of the 5 Shadows, which was held, broke up unhappily. To hold the 5 Shadows Conference again at this juncture, if it is not handled properly, it will undoubtedly be self-inflicted humiliation. Watergate, I know what you're worried about. 3 generations of Hokage said solemnly. Before, the new 4 generations of Water Shadows were held. Only relying on the Mist Ninja Village, which lacks high-level combat power, of course, there is no way to deter the forces of all parties, and increase the call and cohesion. Having said that, the 3 generations of Hokage looked around the field and said, but our Konoha Ninja Village is different. The return of Tsunade and Jiraiya, the rise of Minato, the growth of Kakashi and other juniors, the Uchiha clan led by Fuyu, the Hinata clan led by Hazu, and so on, these alone are enough to make us Konoha Ninja Village completely control the initiative. Uchiha Fuyu's expression couldn't help changing. He never imagined that the 3 generations of Hokage would tie their Uchiha clan to the bargaining chips of Konoha Shinobi Village. However, this seems to be decentralization, but after thinking about it, Uchiha Fuyu can't hold back his breath. The face of the 3 generations of Hokage, the 5 Shadows meeting suddenly held, it felt as if the heart was clenched by an invisible big hand. It can be said that looking at the audience, everyone has this idea in their hearts. Hee, you don't have to keep your mouth shut, I know what you're thinking. 3 generations of Hokage smiled and said, this time I held the 5 Shadows meeting, also to provide a place for Uchiha Ryu, and the 4 kingdoms, to provide a place for peace talks. Tanbofung Minato raised his brows involuntarily and said with a wry smile, 3 generations, it's not that I don't believe in your appeal. However, the 3rd generation of Mizukage and the 4 tails of Yan'an village, Zuli, were killed, and the 2nd and 2nd tails of Yunnan village were captured. The 3rd generation of Fungying may still fall into the hands of Long Yu and the Scorpion of Red Sand. Under these major premise, it is impossible for the 4 major countries to put aside their prejudices and negotiate with Uchiha Ryu. Many people in the field nodded secretly to Namikaze Minato's words. Watergate, you were right. 3 generations of Hokage nodded and said, so, the premise of the peace talks is to let Uchiha Ryu take out the 4-tailed beasts that he got. As for the people killed by Uchiha Ryu, under the turmoil of war, there are so many people killed, life and death are just a competition of strength. If Uchiha Ryu is willing to take out the tailed beast, I am willing to use Konoha Ninja Village, put pressure on the 4 major ninja villages, so as to bring the ninja world into chaos. Speaking of the end, the 3 generations of Hokage looked solemn and righteous, and there was an unquestionable taste between the words. However, in the face of this, with the responsibility of defending the safety of the ninja world, the expressions of everyone in the field were different. Uchiha Fuyu and Shisui couldn't help but glance at each other, showing strange expressions on their faces. Fuyu, Zishui, what do you mean by this expression? 3 generations of Hokage were stunned at first, then frowned, appearing slightly unhappy. Under such a major and exciting speech by the leader, the people present should give warm applause and go to support. Kind of deserted situation. There is no doubt that the 3 generations of Hokage have a feeling of being forced to step down. 3 generations of adults, you said, those tailed beasts shouted one by one, will long you hand them over? Uchiha Fuyu said helplessly. On the side, did not say anything to agree, but that. With a positive expression on his face, he undoubtedly thought of going to the same place as Uchiha Fugaku. 3 generations of Hokage were stunned at first, but after opening their mouths, they were speechless. After a full 7 or 8 seconds, he sighed and said, no matter what, I have already sent someone to the 4 great ninja villages and proposed to reconvene the 5 Shadows Conference. At the same time, in Yunrin village, which had just encountered the rebellion, the huge Hokage office was trapped in an inexplicable depression. 4 generations of Raikage stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling glass window, looking at the half-destroyed Rocky Mountain in the distance. His face became more and more blue. Damn! The 4th generation of Raikage suddenly roared, and the thunder light splashed down from his right hand, and slammed down heavily on the desk. Boom! It echoed with a dull crashing sound. The huge impact made the tabletop collapse with a bang, and under the splash of thunder light, more wood shards collapsed and flew out. The violent scene made the faces of the people waiting in the arena look a little bitter. Of course they knew that with the temper of the 4th Raikage, they would not let this kind of thing go. Chapter 192, Pennant. But now it seems that any explanation will be pale. You bastard, you know, in front of the other 4 shadows, I slapped my chest and swore to throw out harsh words. Now you tell me that Uchiha Ryu not only entered the village unwittingly. Furthermore, he also took away the 2-tailed cat. The most important thing is that he helped our Yunren village to quell the rebellion. The 4th Raikage roared angrily, and the posture was almost. He pressed his fingers against their foreheads and squeezed it hard. You know, what expressions did they have at that time? That group of warriors almost couldn't hold back their laughter. You said, let me walk outside in the future. The rolling voice made Tutai's neck shrink involuntarily, and said weakly, 4th generation, the situation was urgent that day, I forgot all of a sudden, keep a low profile. After all, in any ninja village, after experiencing this kind of rebellion, who would think so much about seeing the existence of the backbone, except to spit it out? Forgot a good sentence. 4 generations of Raikage said angrily, looked at Sammy and said, who can tell me why you didn't take action that day, stopped Uchiha Ryu, and let the 4 major ninja villages know that he was in our Yunnan village? Come and go freely, do I still have face? When Tutai heard the words, his expression changed slightly. The advisors and elders of the Japanese clan once also requested that they pursue and stop Uchiha Longyu. However, in the face of this request, Tutai refused. Thinking of this, Tutai couldn't help but glance at Kurabi, who looked like he was doing nothing. Kurabi pierced his ears and quickly recovered himself, saying, brother, you can't blame the teacher, that Uchiha Ryu, even the 2nd and 2nd tails surrendered voluntarily, who is qualified to stop him? If they do get on, I think whoever gets on will die first. Big brother, when you come back, you'll be a bachelor commander. There's no point in running the train with your mouth full, and swearing at people is refreshing. The 4 generations of Raikage ended in a word, and the thunder light on his body suddenly skyrocketed, and the whole person appeared in front of Kurabi like a ghost. At the moment of roaring, he punched Kurabi's head. You bastard, if you don't speak, no one will kill you. Bang! The dull thunder-like collision sound resounded suddenly, and the huge impact force directly hit Kira on the ground. Along with the ground breaking apart, Kurabi's body, in full view of the public, made a popping sound of air piercing. Then it turned into a cloud of white smoke and dissipated in front of him. Shadow clone. 4th Raikage was stunned for a moment, and then roared with rage and rage. Kurabi, you are planning to sneak out of the village to play at this juncture, and everyone will bring him back to me. Bang! The door was pushed open, and everyone who was planning to take the opportunity to leave, looked at Kurabi who came back, and couldn't help but startled. For them, Kurabi has been playing too much. But as Yunnan village, the most perfect human pillar force has been kept in the waterfall temple not far from the center of the village for surveillance. Now that I can find an opportunity to slip out and play, I should pat my butt and slip out of sight. Yo check. Big brother, did you know what I got just now? Kurabi didn't care about the atmosphere in the field at all, and after the shadow clone was broken, he already knew what happened. I was taken aback just now and received a request from Konoha Shinobi Village. Rap! Kurabi took out a scroll with his backhand and swayed it in front of everyone. Seeing Kurabi, who was acting like an idiot again, the fourth generation Raikage's face became extremely gloomy, and he roared, "Don't be ashamed here, tell me, those Konoha guys, what are you going to say? If you still hold it and let me have a peace talk with Longyu, then there will be no way." Looking at the Raikage of the fourth generation who almost ran wild, Kurabi coughed dry. Little and said, "Brother, you're right, Konoha Shinobi still wants us to have peace talks with Uchiha Ryu, but the situation is a little different. It was the 3 generations of Hokage who personally proposed to hold a meeting of the 5 shadows. Sarutobi Hibiki kills that old guy." The fourth Raikage froze for a moment. As for this old fritter of the same generation as his father, who at the same time coordinates the strength of a village and fights against the 4 major forbearance villages at the same time, even he who has always been more grumpy has to pay attention. However, at the thought of the loss of the second and second tails, Uchiha Ryu helping Yunrin village to quell the rebellion, the samurai looked like they were holding back their laughter. The fourth generation Raikage turned pale, gritted his teeth and said, "HMPH, Sarutobi cut that old man, sure enough. It's a wishful thinking. We don't even sell Yutaki Yakura's face, why should we sell his old face?" Hee, the fourth Raikage, the third generation already expected you to say this, so let me personally bring you the latest information. A cold, light laughter suddenly came from outside the corridor. The sudden scene made the 4 generations of Raikage's expressions suddenly change, and the thunder light on his body skyrocketed, like a thunderbolt, and instantly appeared behind the gate. Without any bells and whistles, the 4th generation of Raikage. The light was entangled, and a punch pierced the door of the office. Boom! Lightning splashed, violent arcs, crackling and spreading. At the same time, the door shattered. Looking at the scene of the shards of sawdust flying and shattering, a slightly short figure actually blocked the 4-generation Raikage's heavy punch with his leg skills. The violent scene made the expressions of the people in the field change slightly. Tutai raised his brows, and his pupils shrank even more. "I didn't expect that the 3 generations of Hokage would even send a semi-retired existence like you. It seems that he is very confident in restarting the 5 Shadows Conference." The 4th Raikage looked at the short man in front of him, but his face was rarely put away with disdain. After all, looking at the Konoha ninja village, the only person who can downplay his ninja skills on the front is the Konoha dragon god Mr. Chen. Hee, the 4th Raikage, we haven't seen each other for a long time since the last battle. Teacher Chen laughed dryly, looked at the 4th generation of Raking and snorted coldly, and at the same time as the thunderlight scattered all over his body, he also retracted his right foot. "Tube, let someone clean up the ground. Haha, you still like to be handsome." Teacher Chen looked at the helpless face, and clearly knew the temperament of the 4th generation of Raking. However, he waved his hand to stop. "However, I still advise you to listen to the information that the 3 generations of Hokage asked me to bring, and then clean it. HMPH, Konoha Dragon God, if you have anything to say, just say it. If you have any shit, just let it go, do and sell it in front of me. Is there something else going on now? It's more worth it than our Yunrin village's second and second tails have been taken away. Do you care? If you can't tell the truth, then don't blame me for kicking you out." 4th Raikage said unhappily. For Teacher Chen's physical skills, the fourth generation of Reikage valued it, but it did not mean that it would make him good-tempered. However, in the face of these remarks, Mr. Chen did not explain it himself, and threw a scroll back to the fourth Reikage, saying, "Look at it for yourself, I don't want you to disagree with each other and be cool and handsome. HMPH, let's see, if it's not important, if you dare to stay outside the office secretly, I will punch you to death." The fourth Reikage glanced coldly, and then looked at the scroll in his hand. The moment of entering the goal, the fourth generation of Reikage was first stunned, his expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed in disbelief. "What? Brother, what is written on it?" Chirabi frowned and looked impatient. As soon as he leaned over, he saw the content on the scroll, and he also spit out something. Facing this strange scene, Tutai, Samui and the others also seemed unable to hold back their breath. When I saw clearly that Naneo was taken away from the four characters, I finally understood why the fourth Reikage and Kurabi were so shocked. Not long ago, Uchiha Ryayu snatched the second and second tails in Yunnan village. However, even Taki Ninja Village, which has always been closed to the village and has no intention of participating in the war, has been reduced to almost a third-rate village, and Naneo has also been taken away. This was beyond their expectations. In 7 days, he caught 2 big-tailed beasts. That kid is amazing. The fourth Reikage suddenly clenched his right hand tightly, and the scroll in his hand was shattered in response to the splash of thunder. "Tell me what's going on in Taki Ninja Village. If they are willing, I don't mind helping them to avenge them together and smashing Uchiha Ryayu into scum." These words fell. Tutai and the others also looked at Teacher Chen, and even Samui couldn't help clenching his fists. For any ninja village, the tailed beast is regarded as the foundation of the village, and now Long Yu has robbed Nantai Shigeki. This will undoubtedly make Taki Shinobi Village violently resist. "You mean Taki Shinobu's reaction?" Teacher Chen was stunned for a moment, and immediately opened the zipper in his arms and said, "On the way here, I happened to meet people from Taki Ninja Village, and they brought a pennant to Long Yu." Flag. The people present were stunned, and when they saw the pennant slipping from Teacher Chen's hand, the words of gratitude written on it, almost split their eyes. A master chef, warm-hearted and helpful, peace-loving, a little dog training expert, and a good helper for tailed beasts. Looking at this sentence, the fourth Reikage was not willing to believe it. But his eyes turned slightly, and it landed on the lower right corner of the pennant, when the 4 big characters donated by Taki Ninja Village, plus the official seal. The fourth Reikage almost opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of old blood. "It's too ridiculous to ride a horse. What's the matter? You also think that this thank you pennant is not distracting?" Teacher Chen laughed loudly and said, "That kid is really amazing. Not only did he kidnap the tailed beasts of Taki Ninja Village, but he also asked them to thank them upside down. The little devil of the year. HMPH, Konoha Dragon God, what do you mean when you say this? Do you think Konoha's rebellion is right?" The fourth Reikage shouted angrily. Looking at the pennant now, he has a feeling of inexplicable dazzling. If it wasn't because of Mr. Chen, but he was negotiating on behalf of Konoha Ninja Village, he would have liked to go up and shred the pennant. Chapter 193, In the Name of Konoha Ninja Village. Looking at the fourth Reikage who was full of anger, Samui's expression was also a little stiff, and he felt that the pennant was a bit unpleasant. Moreover, I was even more worried that Teacher Chen was unprepared, and came up with a sentence for Yunren Village to follow suit. "I'm afraid, either the fourth generation Reikage vomited blood and died, or the Konoha Dragon God was beaten by Haibian." "Haha, fourth Reikage, you don't have to be too nervous, I didn't intend to stimulate you." Teacher Chen smiled and put away the pennant. Everything he did was to stimulate the fourth generation of Reikage in accordance with the requirements of the third generation of Hokage. Seeing that the pennant had a good effect, he was too lazy to continue to go further and further on the brink of death. After restraining his smile, he said, "The fourth generation of Reikage, you should have seen that, in just 7 days, the 2 big-tailed beasts fell into his hands. Not only did Taki Ninja not pursue it, but also like your Yunnin village, it was easily solved by him. Rebellion. Of course, I don't have any other intentions. I just want to tell the 4 generations of Raikage that with a single Uchiha dragon feather, enter the ninja village to capture the tailed beast, as if entering a no-man's land, just like searching for something. In case, even the vicious rebel ninja gathered under his command, how can that ninja village be impregnable? Still, the 4th generation of Raikage intends to stay in Yunnan village for the rest of his life, so that Zuli, the 8-tailed man, will not leave his sight at all, tie Yunnan village up and down, tie it to the same chariot, and fight with Uchiha Longyu to the end. The slightly long-sounding voice revealed a sonorous and powerful taste between the lines. Who was originally angry, also had a hint of hesitation on his face, but his mouth still did not loosen at all. He snorted coldly, and said, Konoha Dragon God, do you think that our dignified Yunrin village can't compare to a rebellious group? The rebel group. Teacher Chen shook his head dumbfoundedly and said, 4th Raikage, I'm sorry, I forgot to say one thing. The current Uchiha Ryu is not only the head of the rebel group, he also has 4 big-tailed beasts. If he takes the tailed beast out for a walk, let alone our Konoha ninja village, even your Yun ninja village is no exception. Take the tailed beast out for a walk and be there, no matter what. Was the 4th Raikage, or Samui and the others, even the 8-tailed bull ghost sealed in Kurabi's body changed dramatically. Teacher Chen's remarks seem to have a bit of Chengyu Zia Longyu's morale, but when he really investigates it, facing the rampage of a tailed beast, a ninja village has been exhausted to deal with it. I don't know how much it will cost. By Uchiha Ryu already has a series of powerful levels of rebellion as support, which makes people unable to underestimate. Now there are 4 more tailed beasts in their hands, which is indeed the key point they ignore. After all, the 2 and 2 tails surrendered without a fight that day. In addition to witnessing the powerful strength of Uchiha Ryu, there were also words from the 3 and 4 tails to persuade them. Being able to tame the 2 big-tailed beasts at the same time, the 3rd and the 4th are probably no exception. Once it's time for a head-to-head confrontation, with one Kurabi alone, it may be possible to fight 1 against 2. But if you count the other 2-tailed beasts, there is the unfathomable Uchiha Ryu, and the rebel group under his command. The face of such a lineup, who would be able to fight against it? Thinking of this, the 4th Raikage rarely fell into silence, and his violent temper couldn't be exploded at this moment. Hee, it seems that you know the depth of the 4th Raikage. This is exactly what the 3rd Hokage thought of. Teacher Chen laughed dryly and said, however, don't worry, the premise of this peace negotiation is that your Yunnan village will put down your prejudice and Uchiha Ryu will return the captured tailed beast as a premise. As for those who died on the battlefield people, I also hope you are held accountable. Are you afraid that I will pursue my father's death? The 4th generation Raikage's eyes turned cold, and he said, if you follow the premise you said, as the 4th generation Raikage, I know what is more important. At the same time, I also understand what it means to fulfill my son's responsibilities. Oh, what do you mean? Are you going to challenge Uchiha Ryu in your name? Teacher Chen was stunned at first, and said unexpectedly. HMPH, of course. The 4th generation snorted coldly. However, Tutai on the side rubbed the back of his head awkwardly and said, however, you are still a step late. Lord Raikage of the 4th generation has already sent a special team to investigate the relationship between Yujibo Longyu and Shao organization. After all, this time, in the name of the Shao organization, he escorted the 2 wooden figures back to Yunren village. Teacher Chen of the special team was stunned at first, and said, are you crazy? With Uchiha Longyu's ability, no matter what. How do you choose the team members, that is to die? Thinking of it, even Yunnan village and Taki ninja village, Uchiha Ryu can come and go freely. The mere special team, not to mention, was able to investigate successfully. HMPH, Konoha Dragon God, don't worry. The special team I sent this time is mainly responsible for investigating the relationship between the Shao organization and the Uchiha Ryu rebellion group, as well as Yurin village Sanjiao Hanzo, is there any involvement? Among them, it is not a head-to-head confrontation with Uchiha Ryu. The fourth Raikage snorted coldly. However, don't underestimate the team I sent. Those guys have pupil skills, which are comparable to those of the Uchiha family. Teacher Chen, who was shoulder to shoulder to Right Round Eyes, was startled for a moment, and then he remembered the rumors in the Country of Thunder. It is a clan with powerful illusions and evil eye skills, but because of political relations, it seems that they have been imprisoned and exiled, so they were not active in the later period of the Third Ninja World War. It turns out that the fourth generation of Raikage was able to activate that family again under the strong pressure of the great name of the Kingdom of Thunder. Raikage really has enough courage. Teacher Chen smiled and touched his chin. However, Raing, I still propose that for the Five Shadows Conference to be held smoothly again, I hope you can give the latest instructions to those guys. Their clan is proficient in illusion, and they claim to be able to compete with the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, but you should clearly know that Uchiha Ryu is not. Ordinary ninjas can compare. If something goes wrong, I am afraid it will affect the process of the entire meeting. The original intention of the three generations of Hokage will also be broken. Faced with this persuasion, the fourth Raikage's expression changed slightly. He snorted coldly, and did not refute again. Just as Mr. Chen of Konoha Dragon God thought, even he didn't know what level Uchiha Ryu's strength could reach. To mention a one-on-one confrontation, even if it is a group attack, the four generations of Raikage have no confidence to say that they can win. Not to mention the family. Konoha Dragon God, are you going to inform Uchiha Ryu next? If you don't mind, I hope that the fourth Raikage can hand over the notification task to Konoha Dragon God, which is also a prerequisite for reaching the contract. Trust. Tutai suddenly opened up. Faced with this proposal, not to mention the fourth Raikage, even Konoha Dragon God couldn't help being stunned. As Tutai said, their current cooperation is only based on verbal agreements. Whether the Five Shadows Conference can really be successfully held depends on how everyone gets along and how things work in the future. If the Konoha Dragon God left Yunnan village, the fourth generation of Raikage felt unhappy, turned around and regretted it, it would not be a problem. But the suggestion given by Tutai now obviously hit the hammer in advance and gave enough sincerity. Let the four generations of Raikage, and even the village of Yun Ninja, be tied to the boat of Konoha Ninja village in advance. Provided a basis for persuading the other three major ninja villages in the future. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the field, Tutai's expression changed slightly, and he sighed. Fourth generation, don't get me wrong, I just don't want to have a bigger conflict, causing Yun Nin village, and even the entire ninja world, to pay even more heavy losses. After all, his strength is unfathomable. I also agree with Teacher Tutai's proposal. Samui clenched his fists and spoke suddenly. Sudden scene, the fourth generation Raikage's expression changed slightly, and he raised his hand and said, Tutai, immediately. Give me a book to repair, trouble Konoha Dragon God, and give it to those guys along the way. Seeing that the stalemate had loosened, Mr. Chen was startled for a moment, and then said with a wry smile, Fourth Raikage, I really want to go look for Uchiha Ryu, but this time the third Hokage has already dispatched a Mora ninja who is stronger than me. Go to perform this task. Before that, I just worry that that clan will do crazy things because of their obsession with the Uchiha clan. A stronger ninja than you. The fourth Raikage was startled at first. In his eyes, Konoha Yushin could already be called the elite of Shengnan with his extraordinary ninjutsu alone. Now the three generations of Hokage have even sent stronger ninjas to contact Uchiha Longyu. This not only shows that the three generations of Hokage attach great importance to the holding of this Five Shadows meeting, but also is enough to see the depth of Konoha Ninja Village. Compared with the situation where the other four major ninja villages are almost unusable, Konoha Ninja Village is still full of talents. Regardless of is the older generation or the younger generation, it is indeed much better than the turbulent four ninja villages. Perhaps, it was for this reason that the 3 generations of Hokage dared to hold the 5 Shadows Conference again in the name of Konoha Ninja Village. At the same time, the 5 countries were shaken by what happened in Taki Ninja Village. Urin Village is still in the rainy season. The continuous rain, and the gray sky against the background, make the whole space at a few points of inexplicable depression. The huge tower, wearing a combat uniform and wearing a special breathing device, was doing the Sancho fish Hanzo in a fake, and suddenly opened his eyes. A slightly hoarse voice came out. "Come here, don't be sneaky. This time, you asked me to suspend the suppression of the Shao organization. What is the reason? If you can't convince me, then don't be in the rain. In the village, continue to stay." A sudden remark. Immediately, the pouring rain made a figure appear without warning. Danzo walked slowly, leaning on a cane in his hand. His single eye that was not wrapped in bandages, showed a slight smile, and said, "Hanzo, you are still the same, and you plan to cut the grass and root for any threat." Chapter 194. Come prepared. But, do you know why you failed in the Second Ninja World War? Words fell, and the muscles of Sanjiao Hanzo tensed slightly, and the moment he turned back to look at Danzo, the whole person disappeared into the distance like a ghost. Appearing again, the dazzling sickle, as cunning as a poisonous snake, slashed straight to Danzo's neck. This time, if it can hit, the Sancho fish left on the blade is extremely poisonous, and it can definitely kill Danzo easily. Hee, Hanzo, I already expected you to be like this, but do you really think that I was just wasting my time in Urin Village? Danzo smiled, his right hand wrapped in bandages, without any hesitation, went straight to the attacking scythe and grabbed it. When the crisp metal collision sound suddenly came out, and the sharp sickle instantly cut through the bandage on Danzo's arm, revealing the pale skin at the same time. The roots and stems of trees stretched out quickly like a horned dragon, entangling the sickle in an instant. The first Hokage, the wood-done ninjutsu of the 1,000 hands posts. Hanzo's face changed drastically. The next moment, before he could think about it, he saw Danzo's right hand, like an octopus again, spread out several tree stems and quickly wrapped around him. If this is the case, it really ends up being a solid. I'm afraid not only will be bound, but also be imprisoned in place by the root in the stem, piercing through the body. However, Sanjiao Hanzo can be known as a demigod, if in the original book, it is not the open door. He will never receive a lunchbox. After a brief absence of attention, one hand has already formed the immediate body seal, disappearing like a ghost out of thin air. Bang! Mu Dun's attack failed all of a sudden, and directly stuck on the roof, the heavy floor. A nasty crack was ripped apart abruptly. Reappearing 7 or 8 meters away, Hanzo, looking at the half-body in front of him, looks like Danzo who has turned into a tree monster. Especially on the arm, the dense circle of writing circles showed solemnity to Danzo for the first time, saying, "I didn't expect that since I saw the wood dungeon ninja on the first Hokage, I can still see the cruelty on your body. Defective wood escape ninjutsu. Hee, Hanzo, you are really serious." Danzo laughed dryly, not taking the evaluation of the defective product to heart. After forming a spell seal with the backhand, the wildly proliferating wood dun, like a tide, quickly rewinded, and in just a few seconds, reintegrated into Danzo's arm. Along with the mysterious sealing technique, it spread rapidly on the arm. That once turned into a wooden dungeon was left with the densely infiltrating gesture of writing round eyes. However, Danzo was obviously not surprised by all this, and while taking out a new bandage to wrap his arm, he did not forget to say, "Hanzo, you should know that in this world, only the first generation Senju Hashima-sama has it. Unique wooden ninjutsu. He can be known as the god of ninjas. Of course, I can't compare with him. It is very good to be able to get this part of the power. However, this time, I asked you out, you should have guessed early in the morning, whose idea was." Quote. Hanzo didn't refute Danzo's words, he snorted coldly, looked at the shadow at Danzo's feet, and said, "Hey Ju, since you're here, do and hurry up and get out. It seems like a wrong decision to let you stay in Urin village. I really want to know how many troublesome people you have caused me during this period of time. That day, Hanzo decided to keep Heiju behind, mainly because he knew that in Akatsuki's organization, Nagato had the secret of the Samsara Eye. At the same time, it also has a powerful means of organ transplantation. When I saw Danzo's body, the skin tone and aura of that body and Heiju's other body were almost the same. Hanzo had already thought for a moment that Danzo was absolutely inseparable from Heiju. Moreover, the time difference between the appearance of the two is not large, which seems to be a bit inexplicable. Haha, as expected of the demigod Shanjiao Hanzo, who is closest to the god of ninjas in the ninja world, he saw through everything so quickly. A hoarse voice came from below. Soon I saw the black shadow, and after a while of squirming, a black and white figure with a yin and yang face appeared. Seeing that Heiju's appearance was in line with himself, Sanjiao Hanzo snorted coldly and said, "If I wasn't just trying, I really meant to take Danzo's life. I'm afraid those lurking in the shadows have already killed me behind my back." No, it should be said that if I was trapped by the wooden dug, you might kill me without hesitation. Speaking of which, the awe-inspiring murderous intent surged out of Sanshoyu Hanzo's body. As Heiju said, being honored as a demigod by the ninja world is enough to show that his strength is not simple. At the same time, this is Urin village. In one's own territory, being engaged in by others, once this kind of thing spreads out, I am afraid it will become a laughingstock, and who can swallow this breath? Feel the tidal wave of murderous intent and the sound of fighting on the balcony. Anbu guarded all around. It was already startled. With the sound of 7 or 8 breaking air, Urin Anbu directly blocked the balcony. For a time, in such a huge situation, the atmosphere became extremely depressed. However, in the face of this waiting scene, Danzo did not worry at all, and said with a chuckle, "Hanzo, you really are the same. As I said just now, the reason you failed in the Second Ninja World War was because you were too impulsive, and you didn't know what lurking was and what was waiting for an opportunity. If you wait for the Third Ninja War to detonate the power you have accumulated, can you take up a little more of the land of the 5 major countries in Urin village?" Sanjiao Hanzo's gloomy face, cheek muscles twitched slightly, said, "Danzo, are you planning to let me, like you, hide in Konoha Shinobi village and secretly build some Anbu roots? Don't justify your incompetence. If you really have the ability, the Hokage sitting on it is not Tsurubi, nor the hairy boy of Namikaze Minato, but a black-bellied old man like you." Danzang suddenly became angry. Standing on the commanding heights of morality, Danzo could point the country. That the Sancho fish Hanzo would open up the scars, one by one. Seeing that the atmosphere that had been well controlled changed in an instant, Heiju couldn't help but say, "Okay, don't argue anymore. This public meeting is my idea, and it is also to help Urin village and clear the Shao organization. However, before we wipe out them, we still have one important thing to deal with. As long as we can succeed, in addition to writing the Samsara Eyes, you may also get the strongest kaleidoscope in the ninja world." What Sanjiao Hanzo's expression changed drastically. He is not incompetent. In the cracks between the 5 major countries, Yunin village can grow enough to dominate the Second Ninja World War, but Sanjiao Hanzo is one of the few people in the ninja world who can be second only to the god of ninjas. Regardless of its strength, even intelligence and commanding ability are no exception. If it weren't for the growing age, the desire for power and regime, and the bewitchment of Danzo in the original work. Nor will it do anything to smother the Shao organization. However, Sanjiao Hanzo now clearly knows what Heiju's remarks mean, and after his expression changed drastically, he said in a deep voice, "You guys are not going to show up this time, and you will use the people of Shao's organization to lead out Uchiha Ryu. Let's hunt again." Quote, "Since you can propose this kind of resolution, you should know that the second and second tails of Yunrin village were taken away not long ago. That pair of kaleidoscopes is indeed very tempting, but it was obviously developed to the extreme by that guy. Instead of being an enemy of him, why don't I retreat and just deal with the Shao organization? Fell, Sanshoyu Hanzo did not continue to speak, but just stared at Danzo and Heiju. However, before the two of them could speak, a crisp footstep sounded in the rain. Ninjas stationed around suddenly turned around and followed the voice. What caught his eye was a pair of blood-red eyes that were as bright as the moon. The Anbu ninja, who originally had a clear mind and clear eyes, stood in the same place as if he was stunned when his eyes met. People in the outside world say that Hanzo of Sanshoyu is the being that claims to be the closest to God. Seeing it with my own eyes, it seems a bit inconsistent. Faced with a mere kid from the Uchiha clan, he actually retreated and asked for a second time. If I tell you that I can completely restrain the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, are you interested in cooperating with us? The small voice reverberated under the rain. Sanjiao Hanzo looked at the visitor in front of him, and Anbu, who was trapped in the illusion space in an instant, with a hint of surprise and solemnity on his face. On a gray and rainy day, a dozen figures stood opposite each other on the huge rooftop. With the pair of blood moon-like eyes lit up, the atmosphere in the field has obviously changed. Humph. Sanjiao Hanzang snorted coldly, looked at Heiju and said, I didn't expect that you, this guy, not only colluded with Danzang in private. Even the Blood Pond clan, who claimed to be able to compete with the Uchiha clan and Shiranyan, who were exiled by the name of the Kingdom of Thunder, also hooked up. It seems that this time you all came prepared. If I don't agree, I'm afraid it will be difficult to get out of this place. The slightly long voice echoed in this world. Was as if, in response to Sanshoyu Hanzo's words, the blood-colored eyes around him quickly lit up. Obviously, the one in front of me is from the Blood Pond family, not alone. He also led the exiled clan and sneaked into Urin village. And can make them silent, use blood dragon eyes to trap his men. This kind of handwriting is obviously from the hands of Heiju and Danzo. However, Sanshoyu Hanzo is very clear, just wait another minute. Chapter 195, Orochimaru's Plan. His close-fitting Anbu guards did not regularly contact other patrolling ninjas, and those dozens or hundreds of confidants would rush in desperately. However, facing the Danzang, Heiju, and the Blood Dragon Eye clan gathered here. Originally, Sanshoyu Hanzo, who had no interest in hunting Uchiha Ryu, had ripples in his heart. Hee, Hanzo, that's not like your character. Black Jew suddenly laughed. It seems that this lineup, even your impulsive temperament, has begun to shake. After all, the kaleidoscope writing wheel I possessed by Uchiha Ryu has an unfathomable ability. Don't forget, in the history of the ninja world, it appeared. After Uchiha Madara, it is also because of the fact that he has a kaleidoscope to be able to stand against the god of ninjas. Having said this, Heiju looked around the arena and said, everyone can gather here, I think they are all heroes. Uchiha Ryu, I can capture the three big-tailed beasts so smoothly during this period. I believe it is also because of the kaleidoscope shaker. Once he is hunted and occupied, the kaleidoscope shaker will be occupied, and then the powerful pupil technique will be stitched together. Control the tailed beasts and form the most powerful tailed beast army. You said, in the huge ninja world, there is no place for you to stand. The slightly long-sounding voice revealed an inexplicable temptation between the lines. The reincarnation eye is known as the legendary pupil technique, but that is just a legend. Exactly what power it possesses, and how to develop and mine it, is still unknown. Compared with the seemingly extreme kaleidoscope writing wheel eye that has been developed by Uchiha Ryu, one is confusing, and the other is already famous. Obviously the latter is more attractive. Yu Hanzo, whose expression changed slightly, his eyes flickered, and his mentality became more and more shaken. Black definitely deserved to be the root cause of the unrest in the ninja world for thousands of years. If it is said that among Naruto, the strongest ninja with a mouth, I am afraid that Hei will dare to recognize the second, and Naruto will not dare to recognize the first. What's the matter, Hanzo? you still can't make up your mind. Blackie smiled playfully. If you add one more person, you should be more interested. 0 inches. There are people. Sanjiao Hanzo was stunned at first, then turned his eyes, and soon saw another figure walking out. Looking at the pale cheek and the scarlet-licked tongue, the identity is about to come out. I didn't expect that Konoha Sanin, who I highly praised that day, would meet on this occasion. Sanjiao Hanzo's expression sank, and he said, it seems that after many years, your strength has been greatly improved in Konoha Ninja Village, and Heiju actually used you as a bargaining chip to convince me to join. Faced with the appearance of Orochimaru, the chiefs of the Danzang and Shichi clans were obviously not surprised at all. Hehe, Lord Hanzo, you are still the same, you liked to whip our juniors back then, and you are still so cautious now. Orochimaru smiled playfully. Now he has a forbidden technique, and he has long lost his sense of awe in the face of the Sanjiao Hanzo who abused their Sanin that day. No, it should be said that with the immortal urine of Orochimaru, he has no awe in his dictionary. As long as any person or animal has cells left with Orochimaru, they can be resurrected through forbidden techniques. This is more difficult than Datangmu Kagaya. HMPH, you were a cold snake back then, how have you become? Guilty tongue slippery, yin and yang strange, it seems that your skills have really grown, and your scars are completely forgotten. Sanjiao Hanzo snorted in disdain. There was a little more slack between the words, and his eyes turned in vain in the field, and said, however, even this junior dares to intervene. If I still refuse, your invitation will probably fall to my Sanjiao Hanzo fame. I want to know, if we get some Sara Eye and Kaleidoscope Shaker Eye, how do we distribute it? In the eyes of Sanjiao Hanzo, there is only one pair of eyes, and they have the power of the 5 parties here. Once it really succeeds, then dividing the spoils will also become a problem. Hehe, Hanzo-sama, you are still cautious as always. Orochimaru smiled and said, this is a world where the strong eat the weak. Of course, whoever kills it in the end, whoever takes the eye, whoever gets the distribution right first. As for the 2 pairs of eyes, I believe half. You won't use it all. Looking at Orochimaru, the left sentence is an adult, the right sentence is an adult, and the words are frivolous. If it was normal, Sanjiao Hanzo would have already given him a meal, Habian. By Orochimaru is obviously the most in line with the distribution of interests between them, but after a cold snort, the topic has changed. With the passage of time, a temporary alliance was formed on behalf of the strength of the 5 parties. After a brief discussion on countermeasures, Danzo and the others did not stay any longer, and they all retreated and disappeared in the rain. For a time, only Sanjiao Hanzo was left with an uncertain look. Looking at the Anbu ninja under his command, he waved his hand and said in a deep voice, give me to Yahiko, who is known to the organization, and tell him that he will go to the Wulong Mountains in 3 days. Perform level tasks. Following a series of orders, Urinin village, which had been silent for many years, turned like gears again. With this time, at the border of Urin village, 2 figures, one big and one small, quickly passed through the forest like ghosts. Under the black-red cloud cloak, the head slowly raised, revealing the well-defined cheeks, and under the frown, Uchiha Ryu, who left Takishinobi village and successfully captured Nanao Shigeki. Boss, are we going to change our clothes? Junmalu suddenly spoke, but the next moment his expression changed. The art of fire escape how fireball. The fiery fireball swept through the woods in the distance without warning, and the trees that passed along the way were instantly smashed by the middle. With a rolling posture, he attacked the 2 of Long Yu. Iron Wall. Junmalu moved first, seemingly small body, but very agile. In the blink of an eye, he came to Long Yu first, his hands suddenly clasped together. Under the peristalsis of the muscles on the surface of the body, a Dawson white bone was shot out, and it quickly intertwined in front of him, turning it into a wall of white bones. Boom! The flames hit the white bone wall in an instant, and under the huge impact, the detonated fireball rolled back like a frenzy, directly submerging the woodland with a radius of more than 10 meters. The violent scene made Junmalu's expression sank, the muscles in his right hand wriggled, and a bone was spit out. When he was about to jump into battle, he was stopped by Uchiha Ryu. "It's a rippling attack, and there's a fight over there." Long Yu looked towards the direction where the fireball was coming. With the insight of a kaleidoscope, he saw two familiar faces. "No, it should be said that there are 3 feet s. Boss, do we need to intervene or detour?" Junmaru's tense muscles relaxed. As a clan that is crazy about war, they can instantly enter a fighting state, and can also put it down instantly. This may seem very simple, but for any ninja, it is a talent that cannot be found. Just ask, a ninja of the same strength and realm, fighting each other to the death, is obviously stronger with fighting talent. And Junmalu happens to be a talent in this area. Not only good at fighting, but also calm and good at thinking. It is precisely for this reason that Junmalu was chosen as the best container by the Orochimaru in the original work, as well as the boss of the 4 people of Yunnan. He also has the ability to easily suppress the rampant Shigego. "No need, we used to join in the fun." Long Yu smiled and patted Junmalu's shoulder. "You are still young, you don't need to protect me like this, and your boss is not mediocre." However, looking at Junmalu, who was still stubborn and did not give in at all, Long Yu gave up the idea of persuading and said, "Forget it, it's up to you. However, don't just die in front of me, I still need you to do a test to become the strongest taijutsu in this ninja world." Is the strongest physique stronger than the boss? Junmalu was stunned. He has witnessed every sharp shot of Uchiha Ryu with his own eyes. Every gesture, even the tailed beasts were terrified, not to mention those so-called Jonin and Penumbra-level existences. Now that Long Yu gave these words, for the first time, Junmalu's face showed urgency other than indifference. "Of course it's impossible, but it seems that you really want to surpass me, and you, planning to avenge me for the annihilation of the clan." Long Yu laughed dryly, and soon saw Junmalu shaking his head like a rattle. However, Long Yu did not bother about this topic, patted Junmalu on the shoulder, and hurried to the battle circle. Junmalu, who followed closely behind, did not fall, but there was a trace of hope on his face that he did not usually have. If you want to make him the strongest in the ninja world, Junmalu will definitely disdain him. But in the mouth of Uchiha Longyu, the meaning is different. After all, everything from Uchiha Ryu's hands is so unexpected. "Hadosuke, come back quickly, don't use ninjutsu casually." As soon as the two of Long Yu approached the battle circle, they heard Xiaonan's urgent cries. The white paper in the sky was like a dancing butterfly. Under the transformation of Xiaonanzong's surgical seal, it turned into a locust, and rushed towards the members of the Xiao organization not far away, 7 or 8, wearing black auspicious cloud cloaks. Dang dang dang. The white paper formed a shield in an instant, and the shuriken attacking like a torrential rain was also instantly blocked. Of the Akatsuki organization headed by Hadosuke also stopped abruptly. "Xiaonan, what are you doing? These are suspicious guys in Konoha Ninja Village, and there are a group of sub-ninjas, so long as you catch them first, and then ask questions." Juzuke's expression changed slightly. "You still think that I can't compare to the Uchiha Ryu in your heart, and I can't even defeat these so-called ninja." The inexplicable words made Xiaonan and the other members of the Xiao organization suddenly look unnatural. They never thought that Hadosuke would speak astonishingly. Had just arrived, also touched the tip of his nose helplessly, although in the original book, Xiaonan, one of the leaders of the Xiao organization, had many suitors. This Hadosuke also confessed to Xiaonan in private, and was directly rejected. But now Long Yu is also shot while lying down, and being handsome is also a sin. Fei Lu reminds you, 3 things to read. Watch the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates, find 99 novels and LT. Please keep this paragraph for collection, otherwise, block the collection of IP, and GT. Chapter 196, Full Shot. Hadosuke, What nonsense are you talking about? This is a battlefield, don't mix your emotions with mission actions. Xiaonan's face changed slightly, and he shouted in a hurry. Once the judgment is wrong, not only will you lose your life, but even your teammates will be no exception. These words were instantly echoed by the other members, but when they fell into Hotosuke's ears, their taste changed. Under the change of expression, he said yin and yang strangely, I knew that in your eyes only that. Konoha betrayal. I'll let you see with your own eyes, how I defeat these Konoha shamanen. Voice fell, Hotosuke backhandedly took out a kunai. Xiaonan was in a hurry. These Konoha ninjas entered the country without authorization, but did not conceal Konoha's identity. Moreover, he didn't make a move, just counterattacked because of Hotosuke's attack. As soon as there is not even a chance to talk, there is a conflict. If this causes conflict between the two countries, this does not meet the definition of Akatsuki's Organization of Peace. They will become the sinners of Yurin village, and they will even lose their foothold. Understood Konoha, but he will die. Long Yu and Jun Malu first landed on Xiaonan's side. The sudden scene caused the pupils of everyone in the field to shrink slightly. Of Konoha's rebellion against the blood-colored Asura, and it was the first time they had seen it with their own eyes. However, when I saw this new legend of the Uchiha family who was like the boy next door and also wore a black-red auspicious cloud cloak, I felt a little more fortunate in my heart. Glad I didn't act as fast as Hotosuke just now, and made a mouthful of Uchiha Ryu. After all, this slap in the face came too soon. Xiaonan was also shocked, but looked at Hotosuke, who had an ashen face and almost clenched his teeth. Now I'm afraid I can't wait to find a hole to dig in. Remarks seemed merciless. Was also running the train with his mouth full a moment ago, but if he really wants to face Uchiha Ryu, it will be a challenge, and it will become fatal. Looking at Hotosuke with a livid face, Xiaonan opened his mouth before he could speak, but soon heard that the Konoha ninja not far away spoke first. Haha, as expected of Uchiha Ryu, we can't even discover this kind of sneaking, but if you judge us like this group of old bones, I'm afraid it's a little too high for us. There are only 3 people in the Konoha team, except for a middle-aged man in his 50s who was carrying a wok on his back. There is also a watermelon rind wearing a green tights, thick eyebrows and big eyes showing snow-white teeth, like this thumb. As for the other one, it should be the medical ninja accompanying the team, who also wears the forehead guard of Genin. I'm not exalting, but you are too low-key. Long Yu smiled warmly. If he remembers correctly, the one who carried the big iron pot was awarded the 2nd generation Hokage's personal water escape, and even the 3rd generation Hokage personally awarded the elite Shengnin, and the multi-shadow clone Shuriken, who was proficient in Konoha flow magic swordsmanship for 10,000 years. Shamanen Kosuke. The other is Meitei, who owns a blue beast and fights cruel knives with 7 people and 7 people in the original book. It can be said that these 2 people created a precedent for the legend of Konoha's strongest ninja. It seems that Your Excellency Long Yu has also heard of our name, which makes us flattered. Meitei raised his finger, showing his white teeth and said, if my son knows that his father has been remembered by Uchiha's new legend, and even praised him, he will definitely be moved to tears. Seeing that eager face, his eyes were burning with flames, and he clenched his fists and called Meitei, who was dry. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said, your son, Meitei, will become the #1 martial artist in the ninja world. What? Meitei almost fainted with excitement, tears rolled in his eyes, and rushed up to grab Long Yu's hand. The distance of 20 to 30 meters is only between several ups and downs, and the speed is so fast that it makes people's pupils shrink a little. Being able to get Uchiha New Legend to give such an evaluation, Kai knows, and he will definitely work hard. Thank you for your appreciation. I will definitely tell Kai what you said. Maddie said excitedly. Completely forgot Uchiha Ryu's identity as a traitor. However, it was precisely because of the sprint speed of the youth power prelude just now that Hotosuke, who was full of resentment, couldn't help but look at Kosuke. I'm going to challenge you. Hotosuke spoke suddenly, causing everyone to be startled. Hurry, Dove can't help, since they recognize Long Yu, it's Uchiha Long Yu again. Juzuke suddenly turned his head and stared at Xiaonan with hatred. Is he the only one in your eyes? Dovasuke, what are you going to talk about when you go back? A middle-aged ninja standing behind Hotosuke frowned and couldn't help but persuade. And they don't want to die with Hotosuke at this juncture. In case Uchiha Ryu provokes them, there is a dead end waiting for them. Let go. Yusuke threw off the middle-aged ninja's hand, looked at Ji-Ujiya with a grim face and said, I can't compare to the so-called Konoha blood-colored Asura, but I have been on the battlefield for many years. In Urin village, the strength is enough to be rated as a special Shengnin, and it will definitely be easy to deal with a mere Konoha Shianin. No matter today. If you agree or not, I will let you know that I also have a time to be on my own. The awe-inspiring roar fell, and without waiting for Xiaonan to react, Juzuke kicked his feet and rushed straight towards Ji-Ujiya. The kunai clenched tightly in his hand, without any bells and whistles, threw his hand out, and at the same time with an awe-inspiring sound of breaking through the air, his hands quickly flew up. The violent scene shocked everyone in the field. Xiaonan was also eager to stop it, but was quickly stopped by Long Yu. Don't go, some people don't look back until they hit the south wall. And Konoha Shamanen really can't be underestimated, especially old man Kosuke. You brat, but you've lifted my old man too high. Ji-Ujiya smiled helplessly, and the pot behind his waist collided with Kuwu in an instant. Under the splash of sparks, kunai was ejected directly. Seeing that this blow was dismissed lightly, Juzuke's face turned ashen, and at the same time, the magic seal formed with both hands flew, and when the last magic seal fell, it roared fiercely. The art of fire escape how fireball. A fiery flame spewed out of his mouth. At the same time, Hotosuke took out a kunai wrapped around a detonating talisman with his backhand, and threw it towards Kosuke. The violent scene made Xiaonan's complexion change dramatically, and he shouted in a hurry, Juzuke, are you crazy? This is just a discussion. Don't be surprised here, that is to underestimate old man Ji-Ujiya. Long Yu smiled and patted Xiaonan on the shoulder, without any intention of blocking it. At this scene, those who saw it couldn't help but be startled, and at the same time, there was an inexplicable urgency in their eyes. Can make Konoha blood-colored Asura, Uchiha Ryu, give such a high evaluation? This Konoha Shamanen, who has lived half his life, really not easy. Still being raised. You kid, it seems that I don't have to do my best, but it hurts your appreciation for me. Kosuke shook his head helplessly. The next moment, the hands moved instantly. Looking at the lofty fireball so close at hand, he didn't mean to retreat at all. Move your hands, it will fly like a wheel, giving people a kind of dazzling feeling. When everyone reacted, 20 or 30 spells fell instantly. This seems to be the seal of water evasion. If you use water escape in this kind of place, I'm afraid you won't be able to catch the fireball that is enhanced by the detonating talisman. Xiaonan's expression turned pale, his clenched fists and knuckles were no exception. But seeing the warm smile on Long Yu's face, he forcibly resisted the thought of making a move. The water escapes the water wall. Kosuke clasped his hands together suddenly, and the water under his feet surged like a tidal wave out of nowhere. That kind of stance like a vortex rewinding, the huge waves set off, instantly constructed into a huge wall of water escape. With the sound of a shocking explosion, the fireball and the detonating charm instantly hit the water wall. Boom! A dull thunder-like explosion sounded suddenly, and the rewinding fire waves were directly stopped by the water wall. Seeing that on this kind of land, the powerful water wall that subverted their cognition was displayed, and Juzuke was completely stunned. It's over. Long Yu suddenly said with a smile. Xiaonan and the others were stunned at first, even Juzuke was no exception. In their natural cognition, Kosuke, who was in the blast wave, could only passively defend. Until the explosion is over, there will be no chance for a counterattack. However, before they could ask, a black shadow suddenly appeared in the water wall. The next moment, the huge iron pan directly penetrated the water wall, and like a hurricane, it slammed towards Duzu. The violent scene made Hotosuke's complexion change dramatically, but he only had time to throw out some shuriken with his backhand. However, facing the iron pot made of stainless steel, the shuriken was like rain hitting a banana, and after making a series of clanging metal collisions, it bounced straight out. When Yusuke's eyes darkened, Gyugia had already appeared by his side, and the chakra knife in his hand was directly on his neck. "I'm sorry, it seems that the bones of my old man's body have not been rusted." Gyugia laughed dryly and put away the chakra knife in his hand. This seemingly complicated battle only lasted for more than 10 seconds before and after, and it took everyone in the field to react. Even Junmaro showed a surprised expression. Uchiha Ryu had high hopes for him, saying that he expected him to become the first person in the ninja world to become the strongest in taijutsu. But the next moment, he praised Mat K for being the first. At first, Junmalu was a little unhappy in his heart, but now he has seen with his own eyes that Kosuke, who is a shinoin, actually displays a trick that can even defeat the Junin. Especially on this kind of land, it is possible to perform such a powerful water escape ninjutsu, which undoubtedly confirms Long Yu's evaluation. The Konoha Shamanen in front of him is definitely not simple. So it means that the Matekai that Long Yu was referring to is also not simple. For a time, Junmalu clenched his fists, and his originally indifferent heart had a little more urge to compete. In Junmalu's mentality, a smile appeared on Long Yu's lips, and said, "Old man Gyugia, you are too modest." Chapter 197. Dress up as a pig and eat a tiger. On land, to be able to display such a powerful water escape ninjutsu is worthy of humiliating the title of the second-generation disciple, and the third generation grants you the qualification of elite jonin. This is a bit too low-key. Long Yu said with a smile. This seemingly homely nonsense exploded in everyone's mind the moment the voice fell. Of the 10,000 years of underbring is also too prominent to ride a horse. Regardless of. It was Xiaonan, or another member of Xiao's organization, who looked at Hotosuke's stiff cheek and couldn't help but feel a little more sympathy. The opponent was planning to abuse the vegetables, but he even picked an iron plate. Thinking of the moment before, Hotosuke refused to listen to the dissuasion, insisted on taking a challenge, and threatened to let go of the harsh words. At the moment, there will be a kind of, a storm-like popping sound. However, it is precisely because of this reason that many people also gave Mat Dai one more look. The face of this strange watermelon skin with thick eyebrows, Long Yu also gave a lot of evaluation. "You brat, you really plan to toss and break my old bones." These words can't be said casually, and humiliate the reputation of the second and third generations of adults, but my sin, if it is not my insistent performance, that time missions can't go wrong either. Gyugia sighed quietly, ready to think about the past again. Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "Okay, let's endure it. It's not bad to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger, but the person who can invite you to form a team should only be that old man of 3 generations. Regardless of. Is it Kosuke or Meitei, this kind of strange lineup will only be enabled by the 3 generations of Hokage. Also qualified to move. As for Namikaze Minato, Long Yu would not think that he has such a strange idea of forming a team. Hehe, you are really smart, but I heard that you seem to be tolerant. When it comes to pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, you seem to be more suitable." Kosuke agreed with a smile. These words, immediately. Everyone in the room was shocked. Subconsciously, he looked at the Konoha forehead guard that Long Yu casually hung around his waist, and the ninja level logo on it was impressively under ninja. At this moment, they suddenly woke up. No wonder Uchiha Ryu said that Konoha was unbearable. His riding on a horse is the biggest stubborn pit. Okay, I don't want to be too high profile. If I can choose, it's better for me to be a salted fish all my life. Don't go too far, the old man of the third generation is looking for you. There should be something important to call me. Is it about the five shadows talks? Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and directly changed the subject. Xiao Nan, who was standing beside him, and the members of the Xiao organization, their expressions changed drastically in an instant. Not long ago, they learned that the Five Shadow Conference held in the country of Iron failed. One of the biggest reasons is that Uchiha Ryu sneaked into Yun Nin village and captured two two-tailed cats. At the same time, he also quelled the rebellion in Yunrin village. They were reluctant to believe such bizarre rumors. However, with the passage of time, things fermented, and the Five Shadows talks really came to an end. This made Yahiko and the others, who were high-level officials, unable to hold their breath, so they sent a team headed by Conan to track down the whereabouts of Uchiha Ryu. Unexpectedly, as soon as they approached the border, they encountered Kosuke and others who were also sneaky. Confession failed, and the jealous dove didn't help out, and indiscriminately made sneak attacks, which led to what happened just now. Gu Jia's expression was slightly shocked, and after glancing at Xiao Nan and the others, he said, I didn't expect it. You already expected it. It seems that you are not only unfathomable in strength, but also not inferior in resourcefulness. In the position of these four generations of Hokage, I am afraid that Minato-sama will also have a strong competitor. However, this is a secret about the five great ninja villages. They are still not suitable for listening. Is it convenient to talk to me in detail? As soon as these words came out, Xiaonan and others couldn't help being stunned, and looked at Uchiha Longyu with a hint of urgency on their faces. In their eyes, the Five Shadows Conference held by the five great ninja villages decided the fate of the great ninja world. Moreover, it is also related to the customization of Akatsuki's next survival policy. However, the idea was just born. That came in a hurry made Xiaonan and others stunned for a while. Master Xiaonan, Master Yahiko and Master Nagato, hurry back to the organization station. I heard that the leader of Yurin village, His Excellency Hanzo, the demigod mountain, intends to negotiate with us. A middle-aged ninja falls forward. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he noticed that the occasion was a bit appropriate, and the moment he saw Uchiha Ryu's appearance clearly, he couldn't help clenching kunai around his waist. Stop it, don't be nervous, they have no ill will. Xiaonan woke up and shouted in a hurry. She didn't want to know the people of the organization, and once again be as embarrassing as Hatosuke. In case even the thick eyebrow watermelon rind was challenged, it would be a shame to throw it at my grandma's house. What's more, what Xiaonan cares most about now is the invitation of Hanzo. Tiamu, make it clear, when did the Sanshoyu Hanzo invite you, and what are Yahiko and Nagato's decision now? Xiaonan said in a hurry. I remembered that not long ago, the whereabouts of the two-tailed people Zuri were leaked, and the location of Akatsuki's organization was stolen. Attack resulted in the damage of a large number of manpower, and the strength was weakened by half. This made Xiaonan three people have to make a decision, temporarily stay away from Yurin village and temporarily stationed in the remote and desolate boundary. Now the Sanjiao Hanzo has suddenly changed its original intention, which undoubtedly gives people a kind of intriguing feeling. Lord Xiaonan, Lord Yahiko and Lord Nagato have not made a decision yet, but I heard that Sanjiao Hanzo threatened to work together for peace for the prosperity of Yurin village, and plan to hand over the richer towns in the Wulong Mountain area till we know how to organize the defense, and also officially serve as our base. Give us Wulong Mountain. Xiaonan was startled. Before the start of the Second Ninja World War, Wulong Mountain was regarded as one of the most important towns in the country of Rain. Later, because it became the main battlefield, it would be abandoned. However, under this period of rest and recuperation, he gradually recovered. It is also one of the gathering places of Yurin village. Long time, the Xiao organization has been unable to develop, all because of the constraints of land. As a result, food cannot be self-sufficient, there is no source of economic taxation, and all rely on performing tasks and earn meager remuneration. All of these are the hidden obstacles of Sanshouyu Hanzo. However, now the Sanjiao Hanzo is not only limited, but also does not pursue the Shao organization's involvement in the capture of the tailed beast in Yunren village, and also assigns Wulong Mountain to them as a base. This was too unexpected. This is the secret commander of Sanjiao Hanzo's body, and the message that came requires us to set off on the same day. Xiaonan-sama, you said this. He glanced at Uchiha Longyu one more time. I'm curious and in awe of this Konoha blood-colored Asura, whose fierce name is resounding throughout the ninja world. After all, during this period of time, even the legendary tailed beast, which was known as the most important one in a village, fell into his hands one after another. Nagato, what decision did they have now? Xiaonan couldn't help but glance at Longyu. Originally, this was a high-level secret of Xiao's organization and should not be discussed on this occasion. But there was an inexplicable feeling in Xiaonan's heart. By discussing this matter in front of Longyu, could the risk be minimized? Tiamu hesitated, but looking at Xiaonan's insistence, he gritted his teeth and said, Lord Nagato and Lord Yahiko seem to be very interested in this matter, so they received the messenger of Sanjiao Hanzo, and they are still negotiating. What, are they crazy? Face changed drastically, and he said, not long ago, Sanjiao Hanzo betrayed us. If it wasn't for Uchiha Ryu's action, our Shao organization would have been completely destroyed. Now we agree to his solicitation. What if it's a trap? Seeing Xiaonan, who was very excited, Taimu was also speechless. Longyu smiled and patted Xiaonan on the shoulder. It's inflated. Time is running out. Go back and have a look first. Expanded. Xiaonan was stunned for a moment, then quickly remembered what these words were referring to. After giving Longyu a white look, he hesitated and said, can you come with me, in case they get into trouble, let me help wipe the butt. Longyu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. Xiaonan grabbed Longyu's arm and said anxiously, as long as you are willing to help me, you use the name of Xiao's organization to sneak into Yunren village to capture Tai, and I will not pursue it with you. These words fell. Tiamu waited. The members of the floor couldn't help but startled. Not long ago, they heard about this incident, but because of their low status, they were not sure about the ins and outs of this incident. Now I have heard with my own ears that the young man in front of me really dared to break into one of the 5 major ninja villages, Yunnin village, which is known as the most powerful military force. Not only did he retreat, but he also took away the second tails. This is too shocking to the world. I am afraid that such means will be more shocking than the half-god legend of the mountain pepperfish Hanzo in Yunren village. Thinking of this, Tiamu couldn't help but look at Longyu one more time. Okay, it seems that I don't owe anything in my life, but my lover has a lot of debts, a bad face, and a hero is saddened by the beauty. Longyu flicked Xiaonan's forehead under the watchful eyes of the public. What nonsense are you talking about? What a lover's disaster. Xiaonan covered his forehead and stared at Longyu. Of outsiders, this thin, angry and charming attitude completely changed its taste. To ride a horse is to flirt, and to show affection on the street. Looking at this scene, many people subconsciously looked at Hatosuke. Those livid cheeks and those bulging veins might burst blood vessels at any time. Okay, don't you have something to tell me? Let's go and see the emerging organization together. Longyu looked back at Jia and the others. Longyu probably knew a thing or two about their intentions. However, this does not mean that he will let Kosuke and others shut the door. After all, to make Junmaru the strongest taijutsu ninja in the ninja world, he needs the strongest taijutsu that Mat wears, the 8th door Dunjia formation. Chapter 198, Is Shao Organization Poor? Captain Kosuke. Matty couldn't help but look at Kosuke. As for Longyu, his cognition has always stayed in the rumors of the outside world. Killing without blinking, cruelty and ruthlessness, etc. are all negative effects. When they met for the first time, Mat Dai also thought about it, and the worst plan was to fight with Uchiha Ryu. Moreover, this is also the reason why the 3 generations of Hokage assigned him the task. The 8th gate's Dunjia is opened. Even if he is just a lower ninja, he can instantly reach the upper ninja and even the shadow level strength. As for whether it can reach the height of Kai in the original work, I am afraid there is a little gap. After all, in the original book, Kai reached the level of elite Jonin with physical skills alone. Matte is only forbearance, so the two also use the 8 skills, and there is probably a gap in the quality of the physical training. However, under this brief contact, Long Yu, who stood at the commanding heights of the ninja world, was not only able to call out his name, but also recognized Matekai's efforts and future achievements. Whether it was a perfunctory statement or not, Konoha Scarlet Asura could give this kind of evaluation. It's enough to prove that Kei's efforts are worth it. Okay, let's go for a trip too, but we need to change our clothes. As Konoha ninjas, we can't casually interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, otherwise it will be involved in political and diplomatic disputes between the 2 countries. Kosuke nodded in agreement. For this decision, Matty looked overjoyed, and immediately showed his white teeth, and when he gave a thumbs up, he took out a cyan tights with his backhand. If you want to disguise, use my tight clothes. Hey, why don't you wait? My youthful vigor, have a good line beauty. And super breathable, and absorbent. Don't you? Seeing the people walking away, Matty quickly followed. After the last siege, the number of Xiao's organization has dropped sharply. As soon as I set foot on this temporary station built along the valley, I felt a sense of shabby and dilapidated. The dilapidated tent, and the listless wounded, with a thin and pale face, the Xiao organization during this period of time was obviously not having a good time. Xiao Nan brought everyone to the ground. With Yusuk and other members of the Yuan Xiao organization, Long Yu and others wore masks of Anbu. However, there is no village logo on this mask, only a simple money logo printed on the forehead. I'm sorry, our organization has encountered difficulties recently, so. Xiao Nan looked around, a trace of unnaturalness appeared on his face. It's okay, maybe I can help you. Long Yu smiled and patted Xiao Nan on the shoulder. The words fell, immediately. She was startled for a while, and soon she heard Timu's voice fall in her ears. Master Xiaonan, it's Dosuo and the others. Taimu's face was hesitant, and he couldn't help but say something. The expressions of Dosuo Xiaonan and the others changed drastically, and following the voice, they saw the middle-aged man with the national character face walking quickly. Dosuo, where are you going? Xiao Nan hurried forward. Dosuo is nearly 2 meters tall, with a national face and prominent muscles, like an iron tower. With more than 10 people behind him, they came in a mighty manner. Lord Xiaonan, we haven't eaten for nearly 2 days. Not long ago, Sao Ninth Village sent people to recruit. We want to temporarily go over and earn some commissions. Daso said humbly. When did you go back to Kusanagi Village, Yahiko? Did they agree? Xiao Nan's expression changed. They came together because of a common idea, but this was full of passion, and after experiencing the skinny reality, everything began to change. Don't go hungry together. This is absolutely impossible. At least, when disaster strikes, we will fly separately. This principle exists everywhere. We don't know what's coming. Maybe we'll come back after solving the problem at hand, or maybe we'll never come back. Duosuo glanced at Long Yu and the others indifferently and said, I don't mind if I say more. The idea of peace is indeed very important and attractive, but an organization that does not even solve the most basic food and clothing, but it is worth looking into the ability of the leader. Having said that, Duosuo looked at Xiao Nandao. It's not that we are cruel, it's that you are incompetent. If you have self-knowledge, you should abdicate and let the virtuous. You. Anxious all of a sudden, but was quickly stopped by Xiaonan's hand, and the pretty face became pale, biting her red lips and trying to stop, but was patted by Long Yu on the shoulder. Good birds choose wood to live in. They want to fly. We should say goodbye. Don't you hurry up and make way. Long Yu smiled and took the lead to step aside. The sudden scene made Dosuo and others stunned in place. This time, they got together to go to the Grass Ninja Village. But the bigger purpose is to overthrow the position of the leader of the Shao organization, and then occupy it. After all, peace can't be eaten as a meal, and the wandering ninjas who joined Shao's organization are not completely of one mind, but more to make a living. Now there is no way to mess around, except to leave. It is the concept of letting me lead. However, what Long Yu is doing now does not follow the script at all. In Dosuo's eyes, now the messenger of Sanjiao Hanzo is coming to solicit, and he only needs to lead the crowd to make trouble in public. In this case, Xiaonan should try his best to keep him, or he has the qualification to become the fourth leader. However, now he was pushed down the road by Long Yu. Seeing that they retreated one by one, even Xiaonan took one more look at Long Yu, bit her red lips and stepped aside. This undoubtedly made Daso's cheeks a little unable to hang, and he couldn't help twitching. Why did you change your mind so quickly? Long Yu smiled genially. You. Duosuo became angry, and after staring at Long Yu for a moment, he said sharply, "Boy, don't be too arrogant. You have no idea how poor this organization is. After entering, you are hungry, but don't leave crying. I'm just waiting to hear your jokes. Of course, if you have the mind, I can also show mercy and take you away with me." Grass Ninja Village was attacked not long ago. The strength of the village was greatly damaged, and many wandering ninjas were recruited to the outside world. If you follow me, I can it's better for you to be a jerk than here. In the face of these tempting words, Xiaonan's face turned ashen. After all, she is one of the three leaders of the Shao organization, although Long Yu is not a member of their Shao organization. But being poached in public like this is simply taking her as heir. Are you going to tell me that the Shao organization is poor? Long Yu smiled and looked at Duosuo. I'm sorry, I like to generate electricity for love. Also, our ninjas from the land of money have nothing but the most money. Spoke, Long Yu backhandedly took out a stack of coins in the cloak and raised it. 1,002s. Tiamu exclaimed in shock, looking at the denominations on the banknotes, his eyes almost split open. This is still a 5-nation ticket, and it can definitely be exchanged successfully. Dragon, I can't ask for this money. Xiaonan was startled, her eyes were slightly red, and she stubbornly pushed the money back to Long Yu. Haha, Xiaonan, you are a ninja who looks down on our country of money. Our young master doesn't have much. No matter how much money you have, if you don't help him spend a little, how can our country of money be assured of hiring your Shao organization as our country of money? The Ninja Village Forces. Gu Jia laughed coldly. Looking at that posture, he completely put himself into the role. Yes, if you join our country of money, you will also get 3 sets of breathable, warm, and super linear tight combat suits for free. Matty quickly agreed. However, as soon as the watermelon rind clothes were taken out, it was immediately. It was blocked by Gu Jia. It's a shame to ride a horse in this aesthetic sense. Since it comes from the country of money, it should use local tyrant gold. Is there such a country in the country of money? A ninja following Daso said with a puzzled look. Duso and the others were no exception, and looked at Xiaonan suspiciously. Facing the gazes of everyone, Xiaonan opened his mouth, unable to speak, and could only cast Long Yu's eyes for help. Hee, of course you don't know the origin of our country of money. Have you heard of the underground black market? Long Yu smiled and shoved the silver note into Xiaonan's hand and said, our country of money is a country formed by an alliance of big businessmen in the underground black market, and it is full of rich businessmen. Yes, the origin of our young master, and his famous haul, once released, I am afraid that even the names of the 5 major countries will stand aside. Your Grass Ninja Village, in the eyes of our young master, is a big rubbish, and let our young master follow. Fuck you, idiots. Kosuke took over the conversation instantly. Looking at his bragging about not writing drafts, Long Yu couldn't help but rolled his eyes. This is indeed an old fried dough stick, even when it is blown, it is well-rounded. Okay, let's not get in the way of this. Duosuo, I've brought everyone to a promotion and made a fortune, let's say goodbye soon. Looking at Dosuo, who took the lead. For a time, everyone's eyes fell on him, causing Dosuo's cheeks to twitch. Of the Shao organization behind him also looked hesitant. After all, these ninjas from the land of money are too generous, and 10 million silver notes can be smashed to death if they are exchanged for coins. What's the matter? Why don't you leave? Why don't you go back quickly? Xiaonan looked at everyone with a hesitant expression, and immediately shouted in a deep voice. This is the first and last time for this kind of thing. Don't let this happen again, otherwise don't blame us for being rude. Thank you, Mr. Xiaonan. Of the Shao organization who followed Dosuo hurriedly left this sentence, turned around and left. Instead of going to the grass ninja village to eat grass roots, it is better to follow these seemingly tall and wealthy ninjas in front of you. 10 million taels was enough to make their organization eat for 10 or 8 years. Looking at the followers who disappeared for a while, Dosuo's cheeks were ashen to the extreme. After gnashing his teeth, he glanced at Long Yu and said, Lord Xiaonan, I'll go back first. Abandoning these words, Daso turned and left without stopping. Chapter 199, Looking for Abuse. Seeing this scene, Xiaonan secretly breathed a sigh of relief and said, Long Yu, thank you very much, we haven't paid the money back last time, and this time you help us like this, I don't know how to repay you. Repay. Long Yu smiled and rubbed Xiaonan's head with a hand in front of everyone's eyes and said, Don't say it too seriously, there is still a money-making madman in my family, and this small amount of money is also a fraction of his. However, if you really want to repay me, I can accept the promise. I don't want it. Xiaonan's cheeks turned red all of a sudden. Don't talk nonsense here, let's hurry in and see how Yahiko and the others have discussed. Looking at Xiaonan, who turned and left directly, Ji Yujia and Mat Dai couldn't help but give their thumbs up. Be able to use money to create a way to chase women like this is not. Ordinary people can do it. Boss, if you let Zhao, all seniors know that you use his money to pick up girls like this, let him know if you will directly bloodbath this place. Junmuro said hesitantly. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said, If you don't tell me, I won't tell him, he will never ask my boss for money. Jun Malu was stunned for a moment, and these words made him feel like he was on a pirate ship. The reception hall is set in the center of the camp. Compared with other buildings, it is only a little better, with less patched tents and wood construction. As soon as Ryayu and the others approached, they saw Yahiko and Nagato, sending 3 Anbu ninjas from Yuanan village slowly out. A few people were still talking and laughing along the way, and it seemed that the negotiation was going very smoothly. Xiaonan. Yahiko looked at Xiaonan, who was approaching, his expression couldn't help changing, and he looked at Long Yu and the others one more time. For these uninvited guests, he did not ask any further questions, but he could not help but be more careful. Is this the only girl among the 3 leaders of your Shao organization? Sure enough, it's a woman who doesn't allow men. It's amazing, ah. The commander of the Urenin Dark Unit suddenly spoke up. Who are those? The sudden encounter made Xiaonan stunned for a moment, and when he was about to speak, he was stopped by Long Yu again. This kind of feeling makes Xiaonan feel like he is completely passive by Long Yu's side. However, it is precisely because of this reason that Long Yu often helps her out, but instead, she has an inexplicable sense of security. Underground black market, come here to hand over tasks with Shao organization. Long Yu said lightly. In the face of these reins, Shinobu didn't show any low stance at all. Underground black market. The expression of the urinary force commander couldn't help but change slightly, but he did not continue to ask. After all, the Shao organization has always lived by taking tasks to earn rewards, and now it is in a difficult situation. It is not surprising that people from the underground black market come to hand over tasks. Brother Feng, why did you come in person? Didn't you say we would visit and take over the mission in person? Yahiko was quick-witted and quickly took over. Long Yu nodded and said, "We have been working together for a long time. I heard that your organization has been severely damaged, so the people from the Alliance commissioned me to take a look. Now it doesn't seem to be a big problem." "Brother Feng, you are serious. Allow me to send the guest away first and then talk to you." Yahiko hurriedly replied. "This kind of adaptable speech, if you talk too much, it will become, there are too many flaws, so it is good to stop." "Hehe, since Yahiko and you still have guests, let's go first." The commander of the dark unit of Yu-Ren gave Long Yu one more look and said, "However, don't forget the conditions and requirements of Hanzo-sama, please go to Wulong Mountain as soon as possible. I hope you can make it right away. Thank you Hanzo-sama for your love." After Yahiko replied, he saw the commander of the urinary dark army quickly leaving with his group. Seeing their backs disappear in front of him, the smile on Yahiko's face dissipated. Standing beside Nagato, a pair of reincarnation eyes exuded a penetrating light, and he said in a deep voice, "You are Uchiha Ryu. Xiaonan, are you crazy? You brought him to our Xiao organization camp. If anyone else finds out, what will the 5 major countries think of us? At that time, I am afraid that even Yurin village will not be able to tolerate our existence." These words fell. Xiaonan's face changed. She was mentally prepared, but obviously did not expect Nagato to be so excited. After all, in Xiaonan's eyes, Long Yu was the one who saved the entire Xiao organization. "Nagato, don't be impulsive." He suddenly opened his mouth, looked at Long Yu and said, "You should have seen along the way that after the last battle, our organization has suffered severe damage, and now we have experienced many internal problems, so we are not willing to talk to you again. Get involved. You get out of here now." Yahiko. Xiaonan was anxious all of a sudden, looking at Yahiko, who has always been reasonable, and also gave an order to evict the guest, which meant that the matter was irreversible. "Young master, did you hear them? They let you go." Ji Yujia took the lead and said with a yin and yang in his voice, "Then why don't you hurry up, get back the 10 million taels of silver notes, which you didn't do just now. They should be given enough food to eat, just let them eat the mud leaves." Looking at Ji Yujia, who was disrespectful as soon as he opened his mouth, Long Yu also rolled his eyes helplessly. But this remark is immediate. Yahiko and Nagato were stunned. After Xiaonan brought back the money last time and solved the urgent need, that sum of money allowed Xiao organization to expand and develop rapidly. From Sanshoyu Hanzo, in time, their organization will develop into the second largest force in Yurin village. Now Long Yu once again took out 10 million taels of silver bills. This is a big rich man. For their Xiao organization, it is just in time. "Why don't you talk? Is it because this thigh is uncomfortable to hold, or return the money to us?" "Less lord." Ji Yujia suddenly opened his mouth again, but the words hit the nail on the head. It made Yahiko, Nagato and others bewildered. These words seem very ugly, but 10 million taels of silver bills, but even Sanjiao Hanzo can't come up with it. In comparison, the thighs do look pretty good. Dragon feather. Xiaonan was in a hurry and couldn't help but take a look. Long Yu patted her head and said, "Don't get me wrong, this time I came to help you for Xiaonan's sake. Furthermore, don't you think that if you open the eyes of reincarnation, you will float? Then you will die." The small voice made the atmosphere in the arena suddenly changed. And Yahiko, who were originally speechless in the face of Long Yu, the rich man's thigh, couldn't help but have a tinge of iron on their faces. This time they accepted the favor of Sanshoyu Hanzo, and the so-called confidence came from the samsara eyes opened by Nagato. The face of this pair, it is known as the same type of eyes of the legendary six-path immortals. They have absolute confidence and can overwhelm the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye of the Uchiha family. Moreover, Nagato's strength has grown by leaps and bounds under the recent sharp-edged pupil technique. Yahiko believes that as long as he buys more time, Nagato's strength will grow to be comparable to the shadow-level powerhouses of the 5 great ninja villages. No, It should be said that if time is long enough to surpass the legend of Urin Village, it is not a problem for the demigod mountain pepperfish and Hanzo. Once at that time, under the premise of having absolute strength, they don't have to be afraid of Sanjiao Yu Hanzo. It is for this reason that they have the confidence to agree to the invitation of Sanjiao Yu Hanzo. However, now Uchiha Longyu has completely denied their full confidence. This made Nagato the first to lose his temper, and said coldly, "Uchiha Ryayu, we know that your strength is not simple, but please don't underestimate us. I will join forces with Yahiko to deal with Sanshoyu Hanzo, we still have confidence. Yes, we are no longer able to compare 10 days ago. I hope you don't underestimate it, otherwise you will suffer." Yahiko also agreed. Looking at Long Yu's gaze, there was a hint of provocation. Long Yu smiled playfully and said, "It seems that you are really floating, are you planning to seek abuse?" "Looking for abuse?" Nagato's face suddenly sank, and he said, "Uchiha Ryayu, don't be too arrogant. The current me is not. I could compete 10 days ago. If I really fight, it is another way of saying who will win and who will lose. Yes, the depth of Samsara's eyes is not as shallow as you think." Yahiko hurriedly agreed. After all, agree to the invitation of Sanshoyu Hanzo. But their idea, and now Long Yu's refusal, is contempt for their decision. If you want to fight, fight, don't talk to me, but I advise you, it's more interesting to fight together. Long Yu smiled and loosened his shoulders and walked out. Seeing this scene, Xiaonan suddenly became anxious. However, at the moment when he was about to speak, he was stopped by Uchiha Ryayu shaking his head, and said with a smile, "If you don't hit the south wall and don't look back, I will try to be gentle and wake them up." "You." Nagato suddenly became angry. Long Yu didn't take it to heart at all, and as soon as he stepped down, he flickered towards the open space behind the canyon. When the thunderlight crackled all over his body, the lightning flashing technique he displayed gave people a feeling like a ghost. Yahiko, Nagato and the others reacted. Long Yu had appeared hundreds of meters away, standing quietly and waiting. This understated scene made Yahiko and Nagato look ashen. "Yahiko, let me teach him a lesson, otherwise he will only live in self-righteousness." Nagato's face sank, and he was about to rush out. However, as soon as he stepped forward, Nagato gave him a look and said, "Don't be impulsive, he is Konoha's blood-colored Asura, it's not a shame to go 2-on-1, what we need to do now is to defeat him and let him know, we can't compare 10 days ago." Nagato heard the words, his expression changed, and after looking at Long Yu, he couldn't help clenching his fists, and said coldly, "Okay. Go." Along with the roar, Yahiko and Nagato disappeared like ghosts out of thin air. Chapter 200, The Means Are Too Unfathomable, appeared again, and had already reached more than 10 meters away with the help of the instant body technique. The two of them, one from the left and one from the right, showed a joint strike-like posture, detouring and charging towards Uchiha Ryayu. Who witnessed this scene, had a hint of hesitation on his face, gritted his teeth and said, "I hope Nagato will not use the Samsara Eye casually, otherwise." "Otherwise what?" Junmalu suddenly spoke, and the tone was mixed with indifference that did not match his age. "Otherwise, will the boss fail? Don't be too naive, they are making progress, but the boss is unfathomable." The inexplicable words made Xiaonan, even Ji-Yu-Jia and the others startled. However, before they could delve into it, an awe-inspiring roar suddenly sounded. "The art of fire escape how fireball." Yahiko quickly flipped his hands, and even with extreme speed, his movements were still fast, precise and ruthless. More than a dozen spell seals completely fell in just a few short breaths. As the last spell fell, the fiery chakra accumulated frantically in his mouth. The next moment, it exploded instantly. Bang! As soon as the flames condensed, they turned into a huge fireball with a diameter of 13 or 4 meters in the wind, and with a stern rolling posture, they attacked Long Yu across the air. The fiery wave of fire rolled back down, causing everyone present to be shocked. Hadosuke, who had suffered a lot in the hands of Long Yu and lost his face, suddenly clenched his fists and said eagerly, as expected of Lord Yahiko, the skill of the fireball is simply outstanding, this power is completely comparable to ninjutsu. Looking at the entire ninja world, there are very few who can master the fire escape ninjutsu to this level. The slightly obscure evaluation seemed to favor Yahiko, but it also attracted Kosuke and the others to silently agree. However, just as the idea emerged in their minds, the pupils contracted suddenly, and the eye sockets almost split. I saw Uchiha Ryu, looking at the rolling fireball, when approaching dozens of meters, one hand formed a magic seal. With breathing and breathing, the fiery fire wave detonated like a frenzy, and instantly converged. Make a huge fireball of dozens of meters. Without any bells and whistles, the oncoming fireballs collided together. Rolling. The violent blow, under the absolute size gap, is like rolling. A fireball that was originally boasted by Hotosuke is capable of reaching the power of ninjutsu. In the case of a huge difference in body size, it is directly rolled like paper paste. If according to Hotosuke's statement, this kind of fireball ghost, I am afraid it is enough to reach the level of forbidden art. Boom! The fireball shattered like fireworks, turning into sparks in the sky and rolling back between the heavens and the earth. The drastic changes in the faces of the people present, their expressions suddenly changed as they watched the fireball that was rolling towards Yahiko Yue. The water escapes the water wall. Nagato was also taken aback, but the magic seal that was placed in his hand for a while, finally took it completely. Accompanied by the sudden clasping of both hands, the water waves stirred under the feet and turned into a wall of water, stopped in front of Yahiko, and collided with the huge fireball first. Boom! The low thunderous explosion resounded again. The huge fireball collided head-on with the water wall, which was originally enough to restrain the fire. Facing the huge fireball like a rank, it was instantly evaporated and penetrated the water wall. Juzuke, who was originally rude and kept intending to make Long Yu humiliated, had a burning cheek. If there was a dog hole now, he would like to go straight into it. However, now facing the huge fireball that instantly penetrated the water wall, transpiring a large amount of water mist, but the size of the body was reduced by a circle, and then the arrogant fireball that was rolled over with unabated power. Joji's feet and belly were also trembling slightly. If it wasn't for his final face, he would have liked to run away with his wings. This kid is really capable of tossing, no. Of the Uchiha clan to be able to display the ordinary fireballs to this extent, and I should let this old man take care of the aftermath. Kosuke was also surprised. However, looking at that arrogant fireball with unabated power, I really want to stop it. Who is also good at water escape, can do it. However, just as Kosuke started walking, Junmuro, who was in front of him, moved first. Looking at the mad fireball, which was rolling over 100 meters away, and shrunk to a dozen meters, he pressed his hands on the ground suddenly. Bone vein early fern dance. Boom! There was a dull reverberation from the ground. Under the smoke and dust, the whole ground shook. Everyone was startled for a while, and then they saw the huge fireballs 100 meters away, tearing up the ground like a needle in hell. The huge fireball was torn apart instantly under this thrust. Accompanied by a huge rumbling explosion, it collapsed directly into the sky and the earth. Seeing this scene, Junmalu withdrew his hands as before. Were spit out from the palm of the hand and extended into the ground were directly cut off. Looking at the bones that were squirming quickly and being reinserted into the flesh, there was a sound of gurgling swallowing saliva. Long time, in their eyes, the 6 or 7-year-old Junmuro was just an orphan taken in by Uchiha Ryu. However, they never imagined that this little conspicuous child would not. Shanji is a member of the Bamboo Clan who almost destroyed their organization by surprise attack. Of the corpse veins even displayed completely subverted their cognition. This shot made them feel that they were inferior to even children. Not only that kid is a monster, but everyone under his command is probably a monster. At such a young age, he can display the bone veins to such an extent that among the Bamboo Clan, he is probably the most respected. Strong genius. There was a hint of solemnity on Gyujia's face. When he came, he heard that Uchiha Ryu was extremely powerful, and his subordinates were also terrifyingly powerful. However, they never imagined that even a little kid could reach this level. Once it really grows up, I am afraid that in any ninja village, it will definitely be able to stand on its own. Wind escaped gale palm. Nagato's violent shouts came out suddenly. With this delay, he was only a few dozen meters away from Long Yu. Hands clasped together suddenly, and the tyrannical hurricane, under the rapid rotation of his hands, patted Long Yu head-on. At the same time, Yahiko appeared behind Nagato like a ghost, and as he swallowed, the flames exploded like a balsam. The art of fire escape impatience. The fire rises with the wind, and the wind helps the fire grow. Looking at the palm of the gale, the power and range instantly soared 7 or 8 times, like a falling flame covering the sky, completely blocking Uchiha Ryu's retreat. It's a good fit ninjutsu, but are you underestimating me? You don't need reincarnation until now. Long Yu smiled warmly. He really wanted to know how far Nagato's reincarnation I had developed in these 10 days. After all, there is no such thing as in the original book, where the sacrifice of life force is sacrificed, and the outsider golem is summoned to directly let the strength run wild. Looking at the incoming fire, the blood in Long Yu's eyes suddenly rolled out, occupying the entire pupil at the moment. Under the frantic rotation of the 9-hook jade, the powerful and unparalleled pupil power came out. The huge Susanoo, dozens of meters, was condensed in an instant. The next moment, the seemingly fierce and unparalleled flames rolled over, and with a wave of Susanoo's big hand, it rolled back and collapsed between the heavens and the earth. Was an understatement, and there was Susanoo, who was like a towering mountain, blood-red and exuded the smell of disaster, which made the melon-eaters who were on the scene suddenly turn pale. It can be said that Uchiha Ryu can obtain the title of Konoha blood-colored Asura, and everything comes from this Asura-like Susanoo. However, in the face of this so-called absolute defensive method, Nagato and Yahiko did not retreat but advanced, and with the help of this breath-like time, they had already approached Ryu dozens of meters away. Nagato! Yahiko roared in a hurry, and his eyes suddenly brightened to the extreme. Same goes for Nagato, who had been marching side by side with him. Seeing the appearance of Susanoo, he had been waiting for a long time. The strange reincarnation eye changed quickly, turning into a pale red color, and the moment the pupils contracted, Nagato suddenly caught it in the air with his right hand. Shen Luo Tianzheng. The huge suction power made Nagato look like a black hole at this moment. 5 fingers suddenly clenched. Long Yu, who was originally in Susanoo, was pulled by an invisible force. The next moment, under the watchful eyes of the public, in the so-called absolute defense, it was forcibly absorbed. Was just a few dozen meters, and it was close in the blink of an eye. Looking at Long Yu who was rapidly expanding in his pupils, Yahiko, who had been waiting for a long time, quickly flipped his hands, took out 2 sealing spells, and slapped them on Long Yu. In their eyes, Uchiha Ryu's methods are too deep and unfathomable. To subdue such an enemy is through unpredictable and unfamiliar means of attack. Then, in an instant, using a sealing spell, Uchiha Ryu's movements were restricted. At that time, no matter how powerful Uchiha Ryu is, as long as they can buy some time and let Nagato prepare other means, they can only watch themselves lose. Looking at the dragon feathers who were like fish on a chopping board, let them slaughter, Nagato was the first to lose his breath, and laughed outrageously. Uchiha Long Yu, have you seen it? This is the powerful power of my samsara eye. I forgot to tell you that from the day I opened the Eye of Samsara, Yahiko and I regarded you as an imaginary enemy of the Eye of Samsara, and all our tactics were to defeat you. Now, in this situation, I'm afraid it's hard to fly, so obediently admit defeat. The imaginary enemy of Samsara Eye, Kosuke and the others, also changed their expressions. In the face of this legendary eye, they have already heard of it. However, I never thought that the duel between Samsara Eye and Kaleidoscope Sharingan would be so exciting and unexpected. What makes them most eager to know, in the face of such an attack, whether Uchiha Longyu, known as the new legend of Uchiha, can turn the tide. However, after Gyujia's expression changed, he looked at Hatosuke, who was about to stop talking and plan to run the train again, and said indifferently, Hatosuke, I advise you to stop talking nonsense. I have an intuition that he may still there is clumsy.